Welcome to a place for those in search of truth and conviction, a place where we discuss culture, politics, philosophy, and everything in between. I'm Luke, and I'm here with Russ. This is Hardly Strictly Politics.
Oh, hell yes, dear listener. The HSP boys are back in the saddle once again for episode number 69. Thank you so much for jumping in the saddle with us. 69, dear listener. Last trip through our 60s together. Dear listener, going headlong into our 70s. 2 separate continents, 2 separate countries, 2 separate adult beverages, just to make it fair. And 2 separate cups of coffee fee. 2 separate fact shamings, 2 separate show preps, 2 separate trails to the same inevitable conclusion. 69, dear listener. Now let's just get it out of the way right now. Wine me, dine me, 69 me, dear listener. Now the HSP boys never said that. One of y'all said that, dear listener, so don't blame us. Meanwhile, 69 is considered to be a lucky number. Wonder why that is. 69 is also considered to be an odious number. Wonder why that is too. 1969, dear listener, the year we landed on the moon. 1969 was the year when Ted Kennedy killed Mary Jo Kopechne in Chappaquiddick. 1969, the year the internet was first created. Led Zeppelin releases their first album, Led Zeppelin. The Beatles give their final public performance on the rooftop at Apple Records in London. Golda Meir becomes the first woman prime minister of Israel. Too many other events to name, dear listener. 1969 was a very busy year.
And also the last year of one of the greatest generations of cars ever produced, the F-Body, the Camaro and Firebird, last year of the first generation. One of the best.
That's right, man.
Generations of vehicles ever produced. One of my favorites.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. That's absolutely right, man. I didn't even think of that, but you're right. But it doesn't matter anyway, dear listener, and you know why that is, don't you? Because the trail grows longer each and every single week, and 69 means that we've got 69 miles to ride together right here, right now, so let's not tarry. Let's saddle up and ride into episode number 69, which is in the house presently. Find us on Facebook and Twitter at Zero Gravity Med. Send us feedback at zero-gravity-media.com. Subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Podbean, and YouTube. Look for Zero Gravity Media and our God tier Zero G logo. Now, we are also on Google Play, dear listener, but for some reason, gosh, I can't even imagine why, we are not yet indexed. So watch this space. Keep looking for us there on Google Play. Android, dear listeners, search for Zero Gravity Media. Leave us some feedback using our contact form at our website, zero-gravity-media.com/contact. Each week, Luke and I call out one city. And this city, the magic of this city is the city with the most HSP listens during the previous week. So without any further ado, the city with the most HSP listens during the previous week is... Same as last week, dear listener, it is indeed becoming customary to say it. Mountain View, California, once again, absolutely commands the saddle. Thank you so much, Mountain View, and way to throw down. Honorable mentions this week include College Station, Texas. As always, thank you so much, College Station, and gig 'em. And Boston, Massachusetts, back at the front of this posse once again this week. Thank you so much, Boston. And Luke, sometimes we lay out the trail map, and some weeks the trail just presents itself, and we don't even have to think about it, man. What a week. What a week.
Yeah, what a week indeed.
Yeah.
This week was particularly interesting. I knew it was going to be a big week.
Yeah.
I think that the listener knew it was going to be a big week as well.
Sure.
Considering the acquittal and all of that. But it just kept getting bigger every single, 3 times a day.
Yes.
A new story would drop every 2 hours. A new story would drop. Hunter, the acquittal, State of the Union, the prayer breakfast, Hunter Biden. I mean, gosh, there's stuff we don't even have on the trail map that's worth talking about that happened. Like, not Mark Meadows, Jim Jordan stepping up to become the leader of the House minority. House minority leader. That's not even on our trail map because the current House minority leader is going to run for Senate.
That's right.
I mean, such a huge week, and every single day it just kept getting bigger. So, dear listener, we have gone to lengths to curate this week's topics for you, and this is going to be a good show. I'm really excited.
I am too, Luke. I am too, man. What you drinking today?
Well, I've got today a rare occurrence. I'm double fisting. I've got a glass of wine and then this rum that's imported from Cuba.
Oh, dang.
But I'm sipping on both. Okay. So it's keeping it cool. But you know.
Yeah.
I just got and of course my giant pitcher of water.
Good. Yeah. Hashtag me too. I've got my giant glass of water. I've got some Chameleon cold coffee, which is absolutely supreme. I've got some fine bourbon that I've recently discovered because it was on sale at my local liquor store, and it's cheap and it is fantastic. Can't recall the name of it right offhand, but it's really good. Trust me. I'll look it up and tell you after the first audio break. And right here in my little hands, I have a fine Dallas Blonde beer, of which I'm going to take my first sip right now. So I'm four-fisting today, dude.
That's nice, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I got a good meme I'm sending you right now. I just saw on poll.
All right. Oh my goodness. That's pretty funny. Oh yeah. You want to describe it?
No, you go for it. You're better at describing it.
All right. So it's a 2-panel meme, dear listener. Okay. And there is a who is this? And who is it that's spraying the wood finish on the fence here?
I think it's just like an advertisement.
Okay.
For like wood finish.
Yeah.
So it's just like an actor or something.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know who it is, but he's spraying this wood fence and, with kind of like a paint sprayer and down,
like a stain.
Yeah. A stain. And down the fence, there's a hole in his fence here. Right. And so it shows him in the second
circular hole.
Yeah. A circular hole. And it shows him in the second panel. He's just past that hole, and it's the other side of the fence, and it's Donald Trump with his hair blown back with orange wood stain on his face. It's just silly. It's fantastic, man.
I know, it's funny. These are the kind of memes that you can laugh at that are you sort of laughing at ourselves,
Yeah. It's funny. I was talking with my parents about Donald Trump's hair this week, and my mom's like, "No, it's real hair." And I'm like, "I know, Mom. I mean, he gave a speech about it. Can you imagine what it's like waking up and fixing this hair every day? It's hell. It's absolute hell covering up this bald spot." No, that's
hilarious.
It is. It's him with his hair blown back. Fantastic, man. Well done. Whomever Meme Smith created this. Fantastic. Well done.
Yeah,
well done.
Yeah. and the way Trump's facial expression on this, the way he's like turned back, looking over his shoulder at the camera, he's just kind of like, yeah. Oh, so much winning. Yeah. All right. Well, I'll run through the trail map, and then before we get into it, I'm curious to know how your week went, man. But the trail map this week, dear listener, segment 1, we've got. We're probably just going to do a little bit of shit posting here in the beginning, a little bit. Then we've got Wu Flu.
Yeah.
And, we try to keep the show positive, but there are some times when things happen that are not positive, but we need to discuss. And unfortunately, as I'm sure you've already heard, Rush Limbaugh was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. We're going to discuss that at the bottom of segment 1. I'm not happy about. Obviously, I'm not happy, but I'm very sad about it. And we're gonna allocate some time to that at the bottom of this segment and try and get it out of the way. Then we're gonna do an audio break. The audio break is actually going to be Limbaugh's speech from the 2009 his speech from the 2009 CPAC. And then we're gonna move into segment 2. We will discuss the acquittal. Up Schiff Creek, acquittal speech, State of the Union, Pelosi, Iowa caucus, Buttigieg, Biden coming in last place. Russ, what's our second audio break?
It is going to be Steve Bannon on Bill Maher's show last night. Apparently he rips him a new one. I haven't listened to it yet. I just saw it on Twitter this morning. So we're going to blast through that. It's about a 12-minute clip. Should be good stuff.
Yeah. Awesome. And then segment 3, we're going to, if we have time, we'll talk about Jordan Peterson. And then, we'll do some GBS on the Democratic debates.
Definitely. And dear listener, you should know this week in audio was really hard to procure. And Luke and I are opting for the things that we think you haven't heard, right? we think everybody listened to the State of the Union address. Of course, everybody heard that. We think probably everybody has already heard Trump's address at the prayer breakfast on Wednesday of this week, Wednesday or Thursday. Yeah, it was Thursday.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and we think you probably also heard his victory lap speech. So we might throw some drops here and there in the middle of the segments, but those we went ahead and culled out for the audio breaks because we're trusting that you've been on the trail enough during this previous week that you already know all this. We don't want to be redundant. So we're opting for things that we don't think you've heard. So hope it works out. Actually, we know it. We know it will. we know it will. So
it always works out.
It always does. Yep.
Yeah, man. So, dude, it sounds like you had a pretty busy week.
Yeah. Busy to say it in the slightest. It was a blackpilling week in a lot of ways, and I would dox a few too many biographical details to really get into it, but there was a major scare at where I work this week, and I'm just going to leave it at that. It was frankly terrifying, absolutely terrifying. And so I'm just going to leave it there. And then it was significant enough of a scare, Luke, that it rippled in throughout the whole week. You know what I mean? Like the entire week was affected by that, you know, and it's really it's blackpilling stuff. So, and you know, it was busy also just in terms of trying to stay on the saddle, man, because the horse has been in a gallop this week down this trail. And it was really hard just to even keep up with what's going on in the news, like you said just a moment ago. And yeah, pretty busy stuff, man. How was yours? Were you as busy as I was?
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, yeah. I mean, I approach my week with pretty breakneck pace each week. You know, work and going to the gym for an hour and a half each week, or each day rather, almost every single night, producing something, recording something, distributing something in terms of, you know, posting something, you know, between the Shoe Bros. I've also been doing this series with John Nelson.
Right. I'm looking forward to that. Yeah.
We finished it up actually this week.
Good, man.
So we got 6 shows. We did basically an isolated season. I don't know what brand I'm going to put that under. I don't know if it's going to be, I mean, certainly not HSP. I don't know if it's going to be Random Walk or if it's going to be, I don't think it's appropriate to Capitalist Lifestyle Show, which I want to rename that show and rebrand it somehow anyways. That's why I haven't rebooted that show yet. I don't know what I'm going to do. Maybe ZG interviews.
Good.
We'll see. I don't know, but it'll be a run. We'll do one, you know, we recorded 6 shows. I'm going to produce one each week and put it out each week. So it'll be interesting. John's an interesting person, super nice guy.
Yeah. Super cool. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
yeah, super smart as well, man. So I'm really looking forward to it. And shout out, John. What's going on?
Yeah. So keep an eye out for that. Yeah. Other than that, I mean, there was just a pretty typical week. I was talking to Dan earlier about the difference in American versus European gym culture, which is interesting.
That is interesting. Huh.
Basically, and it caused me to reflect on this, and I've reflected on this week. I think Europeans have a much healthier relationship to fitness and gym culture than Americans do.
That could be.
And I say this because, like, in America, and I don't know, give me your thoughts on this, Russ. Give me your feedback. But in America, it's sort of like the benevolent versus the malevolent universe premise, right? Like the benevolent universe premise is like, you know, reality is out there for you to understand, for you to mold and shape to your liking, and for you to pursue that which you want to pursue and build your life up and make it the best that you can. The malevolent universe premise is that reality just happens to you and you're just suffering and trying to survive and not die, right? Mm-hmm. And the American fitness culture sort of adopts that malevolent universe premise. That fitness is this suffering. You have to have discipline. You have to suffer through it. In fact, David Goggins is, you know, he doesn't listen to music because music makes it easier. You know, so they almost, like, Americans embrace this arduous suffering hardship that is fitness, whereas Europeans approach it like a hobby. It's an interest.
Huh.
So I think that a lot of it is that, it's not very comfortable to be overweight and obese in Europe. And I'll get to that here in a second. But, when you're at the gym, there's very few overweight. There's almost nobody there who's trying to get in shape. Everyone's in shape that's at the gym. And it's because everybody that goes to the gym, that's their hobby, as if it's somebody else plays video games as a hobby, or somebody else plays chess as a hobby, or somebody goes to dance class or archery, or, everyone has their interests and their hobbies. Gym, like lifting weights in Europe, that is a hobby. That is an interest that people take on as an activity in their life. So you have this like crazy huge selection bias where everybody at the gym is already in shape, because it's not this like all these people suffering through workouts. It's actually a focus for them. It's an interest. It's really interesting how different it is.
Huh. That is really fascinating, man. I don't know a lot about European gym culture. I can 100% agree with you about American gym culture being suffering. You see tons of out of shape people at the gym that are just torturing themselves to get back into shape. I think about when Robert and I were lifting every day, right? We would go to the gym and we had nicknames for people that we saw there every day. And there was this one gal that we called $1 Million Baby. Excuse me, dear listener, $1 Million Baby. And she was this real kind of small girl, you know what I mean? And man, she would just absolutely slay it in the gym. And by the time we both stopped going to that gym, she was a beast, you know what I mean? But like, she was very disciplined, and she would like really push it every single time.
How did y'all come up with the name $1 Million Baby?
Because that was our hobby, just coming up with nicknames, and we just thought of it one day. I don't know, because of the movie $1 Million Baby, about the woman who wants to be a boxer and she trains and becomes the greatest boxer in the world. Because of that, she reminded us of $1 Million Baby. Yeah, it's a Clint Eastwood movie. Yeah, so
okay,
yeah.
Oh, dude, that's really funny.
Yeah,
I remember y'all had like Private Joker or something like that.
Yeah, Private Joker. Show us your war face, Private Joker. Yeah, we did. Private Joker. Yeah. I can't even remember any others right offhand. I've got to ask Robert about that next time I talk to him, and I've got to write those down. But yeah, we did. We had numerous, probably maybe as many as 12 to 20 gym nicknames for people, and they never knew. Private Joker did, because Robert called him Private Joker to his face one time. So Private Joker knew his. So
that's hilarious, man.
Yeah. So yeah. But anyways, back on point. Yes, I totally see your point about the arduousness of American gym culture. You know what I mean? And I don't know enough about European to attest. So
yeah. It's actually quite refreshing, because I love going to the gym. That's like one of the highlights of my day.
Yeah. The happiest times I've ever seen you were when we would lift together. You are you're in pure bliss at the gym every time you go. It's something else. It really is. So
yeah, I love it, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, in America, it's like you can sort of insulate yourself from the discomfort of being obese and overweight. You've got your house that's suited to you and your body type, and you've got your car that's suited to you and your body type, and you've got your office that's suited to you. And it's like the most walking you do is across a parking lot. And even then you're circling it 3 times to see how close you can get to the door, True. But, in Europe, it's like you can't, there's all this discomfort, because you get on the train or the tram, and, you got to stand there. And if you're super overweight, then it's uncomfortable to stand there for like 20 minutes. So you're looking for a seat, but then if it's crowded and you sit in a seat, then, you're the person spilling over into the seat beside you, and nobody can sit next to you. So that's not comfortable.
Right.
So in Europe, it's like this really, it can be very, very uncomfortable to be over. It's just, you're just constantly reminded that you're overweight, or obese or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And,
yeah.
So, I mean, yeah. So that's why I bought a car.
Yeah. Totally.
No, I'm kidding. No, I mean, after I had my shoulder surgery, I put on a bunch of weight, not like crazy, or anything, but, I'm getting back down to where I was. I'm really close, except like way bigger now, in terms of strength.
Awesome.
Yeah, but it's just different, man. You can't. It's just not. It's not that it's not practical. It's actually not comfortable to be anything other than basically in shape. You know,
Right.
here.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, yeah, dude, I mean, another like other things about gym culture is that, well, okay. so there's like lifestyle gyms here, you know? So I belong to this chain, and like one of the gyms that I work out at, it's near my work, and it's like very much a lifestyle gym. They've got a lake by the gym. And they have a smoking area. They sell beer.
Dang.
They've got a lake right there. They've got saunas. They've got an area where you can just lay nude. Like you can just get naked and you go just lay there naked, you know, and the saunas are all naked. Yeah. So this is also something that's funny is the sauna culture in Germany specifically is nude. It's weird if you're not naked in the sauna, fully, completely naked.
Yeah.
So you can be like lifting weights, you know, like pounding out reps, you know, on barbell bench. And then there's this like chick in yoga pants, fit chick in yoga pants, lifting next to you. And then 10 minutes later, you can be naked sitting next to her in the sauna.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Crazy.
It's like maximum creeper status achieved. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, it's just really, I don't know. It's just way different. I don't do the saunas. I accidentally I was like, when I first joined my gym, I kind of like, you know, I was like, let me go look at the sauna area. And I kind of peered around the corner, and I was like in my workout gear. And then there's this room with like 20 naked people, all of them just staring at me. Dang. And I was like, and I'm turning back around and going back into the locker room. And that is literally the only time I've ever laid eyes on the sauna at my gym.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Came around the corner. There's 20 naked people staring at me.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd probably do the same, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Dang. Oh man.
So yeah, nudity here is just not. Nobody cares, you know.
It's true. Yeah.
And I just assume that most of our neighbors know what I look like naked. Probably both of us, you know.
Yeah.
Springtime, people start leaving their windows open at night. You just hear people having sex at night.
Yeah.
Even during the day, you know, kids are playing in the school ground, you know, near our house, and you can just hear people having sex in the middle of the day like it's nothing.
Yeah.
You know, which is, you know, probably reduce costs in school. You don't need to have sex education in school at that point.
True.
You already know what that is. Mommy and daddy, what's that? What is that? Well, tell me, little John, describe the noise to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, somebody's being on the verge of being strangled to death for about 10 minutes.
Yeah. I noticed the same thing kind of in San Francisco when I was living there. And San Francisco is, you know, kind of a very feminine city, very European style city. But I saw hella naked people all the time, just driving down the street, walking around. People have their windows open. Luke and I saw a naked chick up on the roof of my building one night.
I remember that. Yeah.
She didn't even seem to care. You know what I mean? But like it happened. If not hundreds of times, then definitely dozens of times throughout my tenure in San Francisco. But I would always hear people having sex in my apartment building too. And I remember one of my friends on a lower floor, I could hear it. I mean, just this absolute shrieking. And my friend texted me, "Oh God, she's never going to survive." I was like, yeah, she sounds like she's in trouble, you know? So,
but see, the thing is, like in San Francisco, they're in your face about it.
Yeah,
you know
true.
What I mean?
Yeah,
they're
are.
Like, we're naked, dude. I remember there was one of the funniest things. I remember I read in the newspaper one time. I don't know what I was doing. I was like, it was in the morning or something. I was at work. I was reading the newspaper, and or at home or something. I don't know. And it was an article about how the San Francisco city government was trying to pass a law that you could no longer go into coffee shops completely naked.
I remember that. Yeah.
And you had to wear pants. And there was this uprising and, you know, of like nudists who were upset about this. And I just remember thinking how funny that was, that it's like, you know, you have these government officials that it's like, look, all we are asking you to do, Just wear pants. That's it.
Just into a coffee shop.
Just wear pants. And you don't even have to do it everywhere. Just coffee shops. Just wear pants in coffee shops. That's all we're asking. No, we will not wear pants in coffee shops.
Yeah.
We refuse to be clothed. This is a step too far.
I know. And unfortunately, there's a nude beach, Baker Beach, there in San Francisco. And unfortunately, these people that are so in your face about public nudity are frankly dreadful to look at in the nude. I mean, all of them to a person.
Oh, yeah.
They're just terrifying.
I remember coming to Europe as like a young teen, and I was like, oh yeah, let's go to like the, Danube or whatever, and go like see some naked chicks, But yeah, believe me when I tell you that it is. I mean, from my gym, I work out at this gym a lot where there's like nude people hanging around outside. And I can like look down out the window and see down there and see like who's laying there naked. It's just all out there, right in the open, and it is. I mean, I have yet to see somebody under the age of like probably 65.
Same here.
That's out there, like laying out there naked, So I don't know. I guess as you get older, you just say, screw it. This is what you get.
Yeah. I suppose, man. I mean, I went to Baker Beach one time shortly after I moved to San Francisco. I'm like, wow, they got a nude beach. I'm going to go out there. Dude, I was there for 5 minutes and I was like, damn, look at the time. It is time to go. I didn't even walk the beach. I was like, I'm out of here, dude. I'm out.
Yeah, dude. It's not what people think it is. That's for
exactly.
sure.
Yeah.
Like you'll get a lot of like thong bikinis, like hot chicks wearing that sort of stuff. But you're not going to get like good looking people that are just walking around completely naked. That's the exception, not the rule.
True.
And almost universally so.
True. Unfortunate though it is true. So
yeah. Oh, Europe, man. It's interesting. It's just, I don't know, dude. I've lived in some interesting places, man. Hippie ski town in Colorado twice. Yeah. Belgium, Brussels, San Francisco, now Germany. Man, traveling is and not just traveling, but living in other places. Right. And I'm of the opinion it takes about, depending on the size of the city, and the population density and whatnot, it takes about 2 years before you really understand a place. That's a long time. Traveling somewhere is just, that's nothing. That's just but a taste, It really takes about 2 years of living somewhere before you're like, okay, I really understand the culture and the laws and what's good, what's bad. And it's about 2 years of living somewhere before you really can look back and say, I understand this place and what I like about it and what I don't like about it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Yeah, about 2 years, Yeah. Yeah, it's true. So, and also, it understanding all of that and getting into the flow of wherever it is that you live, right? Like, because every location has its own pace of life, its own pace of happening.
Totally.
Yeah. And so it takes a while to adjust yourself to that pace. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Well, speaking of adjusting to pace, we should probably pick up the pace a little bit and move on to Wu Flu. What do you say?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Let's go ahead and do it. So, got a Zero Hedge piece here. Zero Hedge is still getting the love because they got thrown off Twitter. These are the latest happenings on Wu Flu as of Saturday, February 8th, when Luke and I are recording. Fatalities in China reached a single-day high of 86 on Friday, raising the national death total to 724. World Health Organization reported 31,481 confirmed cases on Friday, up 3,000 plus cases from Thursday. The first American citizen has died in Wuhan. The first Japanese citizen suspected of succumbing to the virus. France elevates travel advisory to orange after 5 Brits fall ill at a ski resort. Roundup of suspected infected in Wuhan continues. Beijing appoints Z protege to help lead virus response. Vigil for Dr. Li held in Hong Kong. He was the whistleblower on the Wu Flu epidemic, also known as Corona-Chan virus, dear listener. Luke and I call them both, right? So when we talk about Wu Flu, we're talking about the coronavirus. Dr. Li was the whistleblower, the 34-year-old doctor who kind of forced the Chinese government's hand to report accurately what was going on with this epidemic. He has passed away. China denied that at first. And then they finally had to admit that Dr. Li had passed. And China blocks Foxconn's plan to reopen factories. So a lot's going on with Wu flu. It is getting really scary. By this point in time, it is obvious to everybody that the Chinese Communist government has been lying to us constantly about what's going on with this virus. Finally, videos are starting to leak out in the Twitter sphere and the blogosphere all over the place about weird things that have been going on in Wuhan and Zhengzhou, other places all around China where people are just getting scooped up and thrown in the back of a truck in like metal boxes. So this is, I'm going to say, Luke, I'm kind of curious about your, also, so I spoke with our friend Robert this week. We talked about the Wu flu a lot. And I asked Robert what he thought. Is this a major happening? And Robert detailed 5 data points for me that are being obscured by the Chinese government. And so he's like, seriously, if we had these 5 data points, this would be very easy to throw into a prediction equation about how bad this epidemic is. But we don't have them. And these are very simple data points that China is obviously covering up. So are we officially it clearly is an epidemic now. Is this a happening? Or are we still to the point where we're just saying, I am still to this point, exercise reasonable precautions, maybe delay travel, don't hang out around airports, maybe avoid public transportation, things like this. That's where I'm at. But do you think we're at the point right now that we are at a global happening yet?
No, not yet.
Okay. Yeah, I'm the same.
What were the 5 data points?
I don't remember. I mean, Robert's so smart, man. It's so hard for me to keep up with him. I just don't remember. And so many things happened this week. I can't remember, but I'll get back to you about that, what they were. So,
yeah, I'd be really interested in knowing that. But
yeah, it was fascinating to hear.
No, I mean, once we start, there will, if it turns into a global pandemic, which I don't think it will, for reasons that we've detailed in previous shows, which is that China is uniquely exposed to, there's a medical term for this that is escaping me at the moment, but a very prolific growth of infected individuals. China is uniquely qualified to succumb to that by virtue of the fact that they have almost no sanitary standards in that country.
Right.
None whatsoever.
Right.
Culturally or legally.
Yeah, right.
And so this is why it happens there. This is why it doesn't happen in the West anymore.
Right.
You think back in times when we did have pandemics in the West, we learned from that. We learned how not to spread the Black Plague.
Right. We did.
We learned during the Civil War, or after the Civil War, I should say, we learned how disease spreads through cells.
Right. We did.
That you need to sterilize medical equipment if you don't want infections to spread. We learned these things in the West, and China is just, they've got a lot of that. I'm not saying that they're 17th century medical practices or anything by any stretch of the imagination, but culturally, they have no sanitary standards at all. They're hawking loogies up all over the place everywhere, clipping their fingernails, spitting all over the place, coughing on each other, wiping their eyes. This isn't me condemning them as a people. Travel there and tell me you don't see the same thing. Just go there and tell me that I'm wrong. Because if you go there, you'll see. You'll go, oh my God.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hell, Chinatown in San Francisco is exactly the way you just described it.
Yeah.
It is.
You can go to Chinatown. There's a lady getting on the bus with a live chicken,
Yeah.
It's just like just carrying a live chicken onto the bus. Oh yeah, it's dinner,
Yeah. Yeah. I went into a market to try to get
takeout.
Yeah, exactly. I went into a market there to try to get some cheap vegetables because they have pretty good produce sometimes in Chinatown. And there's this market. There are hundreds of markets in Chinatown, right? But I went to one and I noticed that my feet were sticking to the floor. And I was just like, what in the hell is this? And I looked down and Luke, there were 2 inches of blood on the floor all over this market. I have no idea what kind of blood it was, but I was just like, damn, I got to get out of here. And right as I did that, the woman working the counter at the front of the market came out and started throwing newspaper on the blood in order to, I guess, cover it up or soak it up. or something. That was the last time I ever went to a Chinatown market. I tell you what, I never went back, dude.
Yeah. And
Unbelievable.
I mean, you see that in the United States. It's even worse in China. That's
yeah.
And they don't clean. They maybe like rinse it off with the hose.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
But they don't actually sanitize anything.
Right. And they just rinse it out into the street. They hose it out into the street, into the gutters.
So, I mean, my opinion on this is that, you'll see some carryover into the West. Yeah, you're going to see some isolated incidents in the West and other parts of the world. But you are not going to see pandemic growth anywhere other than China or other places who have similar cultural standards as it relates to sanitation and cleanliness and and things of this nature. I don't see it happening. I don't see it possible. I will need empirical observably true evidence for me to think otherwise.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm still with you. Exercise reasonable precaution. Don't travel to China right now. Maybe rethink traveling through international airports for a while. And Luke, I'm no epidemiologist, but I'm going to say that I think probably within the next 2 months, the virus will just begin to die out, is what I think. You know what I mean? And they're going to they're going to be a lot more dead between now and then, but eventually it's just going to die out, Man,
have you seen these cruise ships that are getting put on hold?
Yeah.
Dude, like we could have been on one of those.
That's crazy, dude. I'm glad you weren't.
Yeah. I mean, 18 months ago, we were departing out of Hong Kong on a Royal Caribbean ship. And now there's a Royal Caribbean ship. I don't know if I think they're in Japan, but there's at least one cruise ship that's stuck in Hong Kong I mean, this is like, dear listener, if you're going to go on a cruise, get a balcony room.
Yeah, straight up.
You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And if the ship goes down, which, I mean, the likelihood of that happening is almost nothing, but or something like this happens, like you want a balcony to be able to go outside too.
Yeah. Yep.
Just get a balcony. And if you can't afford a balcony room, don't go on a cruise. That's my opinion.
Right. I agree 100%, man. And
because these people are stuck they can't leave the room.
That's right. They're quarantined in their cabin. They're
quarantined into their cabin.
Yes.
And I think they're getting like a face mask and like a full body hazmat suit, and they can go outside onto the deck for like 30 minutes a day, but they have to stay 1 meter apart from anybody else. And it's, dude.
Yeah. It's crazy stuff. It is crazy.
And the people that are on the balconies are like just kind of kicking it, hanging out on the balcony. And I don't know. How would you feel about that, Russ?
What do you mean?
I mean, I don't know. Sometimes it's kind of nice to be. One of the reasons I like flying is because I'm isolated from the rest of the world. I'm not tempted to get on the internet because I can't. Nobody can get a hold of me. I'm not tempted to try to get a hold of any. I don't know. I like flying. I like being isolated for a period of time, and it's time boxed. I wouldn't want to be isolated for forever or not know how long I'm isolated for. So I can enjoy it precisely because it's a time boxed event. But I don't know, man. I mean, if I had a job that I hated, I don't hate my job. I actually like my job. But if I had a job that I hated, I mean, I used to tell Jessica when I had that job in San Francisco that I hated, that business development sales job. Mm-hmm. I mean, I told her one time that I was hoping that an earthquake would hit and destroy the Bay Bridge so that I didn't have to go to work the next morning.
Dang. I seem to recall you saying something like that. Yeah.
I was like, if I got stuck on a boat for like 2 weeks and couldn't go back to work, I would be like, wait, so it's either risk getting coronavirus or going to work. I'm going to go for the coronavirus.
Dang.
Dude, I really would, man. I'd be like, totally.
Yeah.
He's still selling tickets for that cruise?
Yeah.
Got any available cabins?
Yeah, totally. I get you, man.
So how would you feel about that, man? Would you be down for that, or would you be like, oh my God, get me out of here?
Context would be context dependent. I'm the same as you. I like being isolated from the comings and goings of regular life in the world, like on an airplane flight or, a couple sleepless nights where all of a sudden you're just,
A time boxed event. Yeah.
Yeah. Time boxed event. Yeah. I love it. I'm not sure that I'd want to be quarantined on a ship in a cabin for 30 days. You know what I mean? That sounds like torture to me. Absolute torture. And I would understand why I was being quarantined. I mean, I have enough benevolence for my fellow human beings that I would want to be quarantined so as not to spread the virus. But dang, I would get stir crazy. I really would.
What if you had a balcony? What if you had a balcony room?
See, that would be that. I agree with you. Get a balcony room because just go kick it outside, sunbathe. You know what I mean? That's what I would do. So yeah.
I mean, I'd be totally down for that if it was a balcony. I don't know. If I had a suite, I would be totally, at this point, if I had like a huge suite, I'd be totally down for it. If I just had a cabin with a balcony, at this point I would. If I had a job that I hated and a life that I hated, I'd be totally down for it. But right now my life's going pretty well. So yeah, I wouldn't be, I mean, unless, because this is the other thing is that they're not giving them booze.
Yeah, right. That's true. Yes.
They're trying to keep the people under control,
Yeah, absolutely. No vices, no smoking, no booze, no nothing. Yeah.
So, I mean, if I could get somebody to like fly some booze into my balcony on a drone or something, maybe that would change things a little bit.
Yeah. Yep.
That's a good business model right there, man.
Yeah, it is, man.
Delivering booze to Corona-chan.
God, you would make $1 bazillion. Yeah. So yeah, man, there are cruise. There's one cruise ship in New Jersey. There's one somewhere off the coast of Washington. There's one in Hong Kong. I mean, it's thousands of people that are being quarantined on ships right now. Tens of thousands of people. It's crazy. It's pretty crazy stuff, And
I'm a little. I mean, I would be lying if I said I wasn't a little bit worried. I mean, we're going on a cruise in June.
Yeah,
in the Caribbean again.
Yeah. I would keep an eye on the happenings, but I do think by June, knock on wood, I think things will be under control by that point.
I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and if they're not, then we're in deep shit. Perfectly honest. If it's not controlled by June, at that point, we are in deep, deep shit. So,
well, again, I think that, in China, frankly, I don't think this will be under control. I think this will go on and on and on in China.
I suspect that's true. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
For many months. Yeah. I mean, I think we're talking hundreds of thousands of people infected at this point. And
yeah, I think so. Mm-hmm.
I think in China, it is a pandemic. But again, for all the reasons that we've already listed and explicated here on the show, I just don't see it spreading in any sort of a pandemic way in the West. It ain't happening.
Yeah, I tend to agree. We're
too civilized over here.
Yeah. Yep.
This is another reason why I prefer to drive and not take public transportation. Because I prefer to avoid the unpleasantries of society.
I used to love public transportation, and then it just got disgusting, and now I avoid it like you at all costs. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like taking it every now and again, but I like taking it on my own accord. I don't like depending on it.
Yeah, right.
There's nothing more powerless of a feeling when public transportation lets you down and you're depending on it.
Boy, that is the truth. That is the truth. So, yeah.
So I like driving. And when I'm going into town to meet up with somebody or have a couple drinks or something, then I enjoy public transportation. It's very nice to have when you're not necessarily on a schedule where if you're 5-10 minutes late or 30 minutes late, it's not the end of the world, but like when you rely on it for work every day and the train just doesn't show up or the bus just doesn't show up and there's nothing you can do about it, that is such a powerless feeling.
It is, truly. Yeah. It's happened to me numerous times. I can attest. It's happened to everybody in San Francisco at least once, truly,
Yeah, so, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like when you start asking yourself, like, what am I doing with my life? How did I end up in San Francisco? What life choice did I make that put me here?
True.
Standing there on the side of the road at 7 a.m. trying to get to work.
Yeah. 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 So true.
I remember one time riding the bus to work and the bus was going like 5 miles an hour. It was like 5:30 in the morning because I worked East Coast hours, but on the West Coast. So I had to be at work by 6. I was riding the bus at like 5:30. No cars on the road. The bus is driving like 4 miles an hour.
Right.
I'm like, what is going on?
What are you doing? I know.
And then I realized that they're simulating traffic conditions.
Exactly.
So they don't get ahead of schedule.
Yes, exactly.
So even in the middle of the night, they just start driving 4 miles an hour, and there's no other cars on the road.
Yeah.
Just to simulate traffic conditions so that they can maintain their schedule. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. I had to take a late night bus getting off of work in San Francisco one night, and I was like one of 3 people on this bus, and that's exactly what the driver was doing. There is no traffic on the road, and he's driving like 2 miles per hour. And I'm just like, what in the hell's going on? And I got so pissed off that I brought my phone out and went and started videotaping him. And he still just sat there driving 2 miles per hour until he realized that I was videoing him. And then he stepped on it at that point, Dang, frustrating. So, yeah.
It's that union pay, man.
It sure is. It sure is. Don't want to work too hard. You know what I mean? To make that
even if
6-figure income.
Pressing a gas pedal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, let's move to the last topic on this, man.
A couple of updates about Wu Flu before we move on.
All right, sorry, dude.
Yeah. No worries. So, dear listener, Xi Jinping, the prime minister of China, is MIA. He's been missing in action for a week. I saw a fascinating interview with Gordon Chang on the Lou Dobbs show on Thursday night. I don't have the audio pulled up right now, and we're kind of stepping on it in terms of audio content. So you might want to go look it up yourself. But Gordon Chang talked about exactly how strange it is that Xi Jinping has been missing for a week. There's a lot of speculation out there. Some people are saying that he's had a stroke. Some people are saying that he has the Wu flu and is really sick. Some people are saying that he's gone into a bunker to go into hiding. But I do agree with Gordon Chang. This is really interesting for the leader of the infected country to not be standing out leading the charge to control this pandemic. It is really interesting. Some white pills about the Wu flu, the Corona Chan virus. We've got a zero hedge piece here that dropped Thursday. China to slash tariffs on some U.S. imports by 50%. I'm going to take it from the lead. It goes thus. While global equity futures continue to soar amid a return of the coronavirus is contained following reports that new drugs are in the pipeline to treat the deadly disease on Wednesday, China's economy is expected to print sub -5% GDP in Q1. This has forced an increasingly desperate Beijing to unexpectedly announce on Thursday that it will slash tariffs levied on 1,717 goods by up to 50%. Hashtag winning. Sorry. Listen, you got to see the light with the dark. Okay. I know people are dying. I'm not trying to be crass. Okay. But listen, the tariffs have been working, and China now needs U.S. cooperation and U.S. goods so desperately that they're forced to slash their tariffs when we are not forced to slash our tariffs on them. This is good for the United States. It's awful for China. It is good for the United States. So listen, if it takes the Corona Chan virus to normalize trade relations with China, I'll take it. I'm serious. I'll take it, Now, a couple things before we move on. What's interesting to me about this week is that Corona Chan virus is finally being talked about as a biological weapon, okay? It is really being considered. There's going to be a House hearing this week about whether or not the Wu flu virus is a biological weapon. I've got a piece here virus. What's that?
Wu Chan virus.
Wu Chan virus. My bad. Mixed metaphors. That. Yeah. Wu Chan virus. Yeah, man. Maybe we can coin it. Yeah. Yeah. Creator of U.S. Bioweapons Act says coronavirus is a biological warfare weapon. Zero hedge piece. I'm going to take it from the lead. All right, this is via the greatgameindia.com. I'm going to take it from the lead. It goes thus. In an explosive interview, Dr. Francis Boyle, who drafted the Biological Weapons Act, has given detailed statements admitting that the 2019 Wuhan coronavirus is an offensive biological warfare weapon and that the World Health Organization already knows about it. Now, that's all pretty much what the piece says. We're going to keep an eye on this very closely because if the World Health Organization has been an apologist for China not really telling the truth about what's going on with the epidemic. Oh, China is just doing so great containing this pandemic. Their actions have just been exemplary, right? Running cover for China about not telling us the truth about this. We are going to watch this bioweapons argument because if the World Health Organization is forced to admit that, oh, dang, this is a biological weapon, this is going to be a major about face. And they're speaking of faces, they will have egg all over theirs. You believe that, dear listener? Okay. Now, there's another interesting thing that happened just today. Okay. As GreatGameIndia.com detailed earlier, in a very strange turn of events, renowned scientist Frank Plummer, who received the Saudi SARS coronavirus sample and was working on coronavirus HIV vaccine in the Winnipeg-based Canadian lab from where the virus was smuggled by Chinese biowarfare agents and weaponized, as revealed in GreatGameIndia.com investigation, has died in mysterious circumstances. Frank Plummer was the key to the Chinese biological espionage case at Winnipeg's National Microbiology Laboratory. According to CBC, Canadian Broadcasting Company, Plummer, 67, was in Kenya where he was a keynote speaker at the annual meeting of the University of Nairobi's Collaborative Center for Research and Training in HIV, AIDS, and STIs. I'm sick of reading. Anyways, it turns out that he died under very mysterious circumstances just yesterday. Now, I find that curious. Again, Luke and I will keep our eye on this bioweapon take that is now kind of mainstream. It's not conspiracy theory anymore. It's conspiracy fact that this is being considered as a bioweapon. That's about all I got about it. Well, I've got more things, but it's black pilling. And speaking of black pills, dude, this next thing we're going to talk about is the ultimate black pill, man. You want to hit us out of this?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so dear listener, you might have heard about Rush Limbaugh. And you have to say, Russ, when I heard about this the day of, there were so many other things going on. I didn't really have a chance to process it until the following day, actually. And so it didn't hit me that day, but the next day it really hit me hard. And especially coming off the heels of this whole Kobe Bryant fiasco, it right. made me realize like really where my values are. I have never in my entire life ever had an emotional reaction to a public figure dying, like, or announcing something like this. Like the Kobe Bryant thing, I recognize that as tragic and sad, but I didn't have an emotional reaction to it. Not in the slightest. I don't care about basketball. I don't know that much about Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
I just
same here, Naker.
Yeah. yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like I saw that. It just didn't affect me at all. I just was like, well, that's sad. That's tragic. And then I went along about my day. That was it. Same with like Princess Diana. In fact, I actually remember my dad coming in, like, I was watching the news and somebody, the news anchor was like, it was the day that, or it was like the evening or the next day or something right after Princess Diana died. And this news anchor was like, so I think I get this from my dad a little bit. And the news anchor he's like, I'm sure nobody will forget where they were the moment they heard that Princess Diana died. And about that moment, my dad came walking into the room and he goes, oh, all right, I already forgot.
Dang.
And then just like left. And I remember that moment so vividly. And that's kind of always how I've been too. I don't remember it doesn't cement itself as like some sort of event in my life, because I just, it's just something that you see as tragic and recognize as tragic and sad. And then you go on. I don't think about it. It doesn't emotionally affect me at all. But Limbaugh, when he announced that he had stage 4 lung cancer, that is the first time that I have ever actually been emotionally impacted with the announcement of somebody that I don't personally know and haven't personally met. And I realize now that, a big reason that did emotionally impact me was because even though we haven't met, he has had a profound impact on my life, not just from an intellectual standpoint or an idea standpoint, but from an inspirational standpoint. And I've mentioned on previous shows that one of the reasons that I'm, sitting here doing this, recording this right now is because my mom always had Rush Limbaugh on the radio every day. We had speakers installed throughout the house. And I remember in high school thinking that we were reading Fahrenheit 451 at the time. And there's a scene in the book where it describes how the propaganda is all around you everywhere. And then I'd be home during the summers, and Rush Limbaugh's all throughout the house. And I'm like, wow, this is kind of like Fahrenheit 451, you know? But, you know, like I ended up kind of liking Rush, and I was like, you know, a lot of this stuff makes sense actually. And it really shaped a lot of my ideas. But much more importantly than that, like, as I mentioned previously, it gave me a passion for ideas as such. Just thinking, the art of thinking. And I remember in my early 20s, I was listening to Rush more than ever, and Sean Hannity and you know, the 9 to 11 guy. Oh man, I cannot believe Neil. Oh my God, Russ, how am I not remembering it? Neil Bortz.
I don't know. Okay. Yeah.
I cannot believe I just blanked on that. It's because I don't know. I'm trying to describe this whole thing with Rush, but yeah, Neil Bortz from 9 to 11. I'd listen to Rush from 11 to 2. I'd listen to Sean Hannity from 3 to 5. I mean, I had like 9 to 5 talk radio all day, every day, 5 days a week. And, I remember just thinking like I would love to be a radio host. I thought I had a terrible voice at the time in my early 20s, and you know, and I frankly wasn't ready. I even remember my mom said, she's like, well, if you want to do that, you should probably read more about history and have a better just understanding of the world. And she was totally right. And then when you and I started doing this podcast, Russ, I was just thinking, I was like, God, I enjoy this so much. You know, fast forward several years, I had totally forgotten about that dream. And then suddenly it clicked. I was like, oh my God, this is what I wanted to do in my early 20s. I'd totally forgotten about that. And you know, the roots of all of that go back to Rush Limbaugh. And, you know, we have so much to thank Rush Limbaugh for. Anybody who is monetizing podcasts, anybody who is monetizing radio, anybody who's doing anything like that at all, like what we're doing, it all redounds to Rush.
Yep.
Rush created this space from scratch.
Yes, he is the godfather. He is the architect.
Yeah. You know, you know, you had your other people before Rush, but Rush is really the one that pioneered the idea of like doing a multi-hour audio format and monetizing it and turning it into a business. Like Rush, I don't think people realize Rush created that. There was nothing before that. And
there would be no Fox News without Rush Limbaugh. There would certainly be no Hardly Strictly Politics without Rush Limbaugh. There would be no Mark Levin. There would be no Sean Hannity. There would be none of this.
No Neil
without
Bortz.
Rush Limbaugh.
Yeah. Nobody.
Yeah.
Rush created all of this. And he created it by, you know, he was doing funny stuff. And so he had this like radio show. You know, he used to be Jack Christie and was a little bit shock jock, you know, but not really. But then when he went out to Sacramento and then changed his show to the Rush Limbaugh Show. Right. That was when, and he started doing these funny bits and people were like, oh, and they started listening. And he did it. They were trying to figure out how to monetize, and he did this read about Snapple on one of his shows. Right. And all of a sudden Snapple's like, what the hell? Like we have all of like our sales just skyrocketed. What just happened? And they traced it and they figured out it was a Rush Limbaugh show doing, you know, Rush talking about Snapple on the show. Cause Rush was testing it. He's like, oh, let's test this out. I'm going to do it. Hey, yeah, I've got this drink right here. You know, Snapple and blah, blah, blah. He goes on about it. And then Snapple approaches them and they create an advertising deal, and boom, that is the start of talk radio, advertising, monetizing podcasts much later. That is the start of all of this whole sphere that we're in here at Hardly Strictly Politics and the internet. Rush is the godfather, architect of all of it.
Yep.
And everybody, right and left, should be thankful for Rush Limbaugh pioneering this space. He's a brilliant human being, man. And unfortunately, with this diagnosis, I did some research on it. I did a bunch of reading on it. Unfortunately, I think that, you know, the 5-year diagnosis, in spite of the fact that he's probably got access to some of the best doctors and, you know, a team of doctors that he could find, it looks like there's going to be a less than 10% chance that he'll be around for more than 5 years.
At the moment, I would agree. There are some intervening factors here, and that is that in Wales, the University of, I can't remember which one, I guess just University of Wales, they quote 2 weeks ago, accidentally discovered a cure for cancer, which involves T cell injections and it works 100% of the time in every type of cancer. Because of the work that Donald Trump has done here in the United States, passing right to try laws, Rush will have access to this care if he so chooses. And supposedly it is 100% effective. So, I'm holding out for a Hail Mary pass about this, truly. But as things stand right now in what we know about cancer, it's not good, man. It's not good.
Yeah, as it stands right now, and granted, the statistics that I was looking at, it is from... It's not including modern advances in technology. So this was, I think, a couple of years ago. But yeah, the prognosis for stage 4 lung cancer is under 10% for survival rate. Looking at a 5-year timeline.
True.
So yeah, we'll see. But yeah, Rush, I highly doubt you'll ever hear this, but thank you for all that you've done.
Yeah, dittos, Rush. Mega dittos. Yeah. But we do know that Mr. Snerdley listens to the show. So, Mr. Snerdley, please pass along our thoughts to Rush for us. I was listening when he announced it, Luke. I was actually in the car in a drive-through line when he announced it, and I was just floored. His humility, his sadness, and his honesty about it. All of a sudden, the boastful show host persona that he has perfected was just laying bare, and he was just a human being, just like all of us. And it absolutely killed me. I tend to be unlike you, man. I really am affected sometimes when celebrities pass away, like Prince, for example. When he died, that really messed me up. This thing with Rush, it got me so much more. And, a couple of interesting things are happening. I listen to a lot of talk radio and a lot of podcasts and a lot of call-in shows, right? Everybody, when they call in now, are saying mega dittos, Mark Levin, mega dittos, Rick Roberts, mega dittos. Like, it's not just a Rush term anymore. It's now ubiquitous in talk radio. And, oh, man, I'm getting a little choked up. I'm sorry, dear listener. But I listened to the Rick Roberts show on WBAP right after Rush made the announcement. It was his last segment when he made the announcement. And Rick was like, damn, I'm absolutely blown away. I've got a couple things to say about impeachment and exoneration and all of this kind of stuff, but I'm going to make it quick and I want to get straight to the phones because I know what's on your mind. Rush is on your mind. And so he rushed through his first segment and went straight to the phones. And the first caller was like, how do we replace Rush? And Rick Roberts was like, you don't replace Rush.
You don't.
There is no replacement.
That question is a non-starter.
Yeah. You cannot replace him. Yeah. And, oh man, Luke, and also, as you know, dear listener, he was at the State of the Union address yesterday. Rush was back on the radio. He promised on Monday that he would be in the saddle on his show as often as he can, but it's going to be very spotty. And he came back Friday and he told the story about how he was invited to the State of the Union. We're not going to detail it here because it's Rush's stories. Rush's stories. So go listen to it. It's out there on YouTube. If you get a chance, go listen to his story. It's really cool. And but at the State of the Union, as you know, he was awarded the Congressional Medal of Freedom, Presidential Medal of Freedom, rather. Well deserved. John and I were talking about it a little bit. It was a little bit provocative for Trump to do it at the State of the Union. Okay. But I loved it. Melania wrapped the medal around his neck. And his reaction was unique. He was stunned. He already knew that he was going to receive the medal at this point in time, but he didn't know that it was going to be right then and there in the chamber. And again, just like when he announced it on Monday, his humility, his humanity in that moment. And I'm sorry to say it, but his frailty, he just didn't really look well. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's obvious he's already started chemo.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see it in his skin and he's for sure already started chemo.
Yeah. So mega dittos, Rush. And thank you. Thank you so much. Mr. Snerdley, please let the man know for us.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, Russ. I mean, as of late, like the last couple of years, I just, I've been in a vastly different time zone. I've just not been able to listen to him and obviously, we've been doing our thing. And I mean, frankly, I don't listen to a lot of people who are in our space because I don't want to hear what they have to say. And then I would have said the same thing anyway, but now I have to feel I have to attribute what I said to them, So I don't even want that getting in my head. So I honestly don't listen to a lot of people who are in our space anymore. But what has he quit smoking cigars, or like, is
No.
this, do you think, okay. So he was still smoking cigars.
Oh, yes. In
Got
fact, he did an interview with Sean Hannity, I guess last November, and Hannity asked him to stay along for a second commercial break. And Rush was like, okay, well, because it's you, Sean Hannity, I'll do it for you, but you're cutting into my cigar and scotch time. So let's make it quick. So, yeah. So, yeah. So, yeah, he Rush being the big pimpin' man that he is, Luke, I'm not sure he'll even quit smoking cigars now that he's in chemo. You know what I mean? Maybe he will, maybe he won't. He's Rush Limbaugh. He does Rush.
Yeah.
He does Rush, but no, yeah, he was smoking cigars. I assume until he found out the day after his birthday this past January. He was having shortness of breath on his birthday, went into the doctor the next day. They found it, went to get a second opinion. They also found it. So yeah.
Man. Well, yeah. Well, we would be remiss not to talk about that. We for sure 100% need to talk about that, but it's very sad. I was definitely emotionally impacted by it this week. And let's hope for the best, man.
Yeah,
Maybe
definitely.
Who are these?
And
who are these? Are the Canadians or Swedes that supposedly have this cure or something?
It's somewhere in Wales. They accidentally found a T-cell cure, and it is 100% effective on all types of cancer. And I had an article about it last week, I think, in last week's show prep, but we didn't get to it because last week was also busy.
It reminds me of like from Anchorman, where he's like, it's 100% effective 60% of the time.
Right. Yeah. But, the white pilling thing is that because of our president, Rush will have the ability to basically be a trial case for this cure if he wants to. And in that article that I read that I had last week, they think that they will have prototyped treatments for it before November. So this is good. So we're talking about somewhere between September and the beginning of November, they're going to be rolling out experimental treatments on this. And, Luke, I've also got to shout out our president on this, man, not just because he passed the right to try legislation, not just because of that, but, man, the way he handled the whole thing in the State of the Union address, Mr. President, it was perfect. The way he handled Rush, the way he encouraged him, it was a 10 out of 10, man. Even though the left was triggered by it, it was a 10 out of 10. And perfect execution by our president. Perfect. So, and Rush. So,
yeah.
So there you go.
Totally agree.
Yeah. Dang, but I'm like you, Luke. I'm really affected by this. Probably a lot more than I expected. But when he announced it on the air and I heard it, frankly, I just had to get home. I was going home for lunch anyway, and I just had to get home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just not be around anybody for a minute, So.
Yeah, for me, it was mainly like driving home, just kind of thinking about everything, reflecting on everything. And, he was God, man, his voice and his show was an integral part of my upbringing. And, for me, it was more the times when I'm driving to work, driving home from work, thinking about it. And I'm a pretty dialed in individual. Once I get to where I'm going, I'm pretty dialed into what I'm doing, but, it's those moments in between where I would think about it and just a profound sense of sadness. I don't know how else to describe it,
Yeah. But he's a fighter. As the president said, he's a fighter and he's a winner. And, if anybody can survive this, it is Rush Limbaugh. That is for sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, did he inhale the cigars?
I don't think so. He quit smoking and quit cigarette smoking and adopted cigars and became a cigar connoisseur. As a matter of fact, I have somewhere still stored from the 90s when Rush was on the cover of Cigar Enthusiast, right? And it was just an article about how he smokes, what he likes to smoke. But I don't think that he inhaled. I think he switched to cigars because you don't inhale a cigar. You know what I mean? So, I think, he and also I've heard him say he does not inhale when he smokes a cigar. I think most people don't. You just kind of taste it, right? So
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've never smoked anything for the taste, to be honest with you. I just don't get it. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I eat food for the taste. I don't drink drinks for the taste. Well, sometimes I do. I mean, there's
I do.
fewer things on this earth better than a Budweiser from a can on a hot day by the pool. I mean, specifically canned Budweiser is my favorite beer of all time.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've smoked. I haven't had a cigarette in a long time, but I mean, I used to smoke when I drank back in college and, long after that as well. But I mean, I never smoked because it tastes good. And I've never had in fact, I remember anytime I would smoke a cigar, I would actually inhale it because I would rather just have a cigarette,
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how somebody could smoke a cigar for the taste, but to each their own, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'll tell you a funny story about a cigar. Well, I'll just tell it now. I can make it quick. It was a Bonfire back in the day. Yeah, I'm that old, dear listener. I was a fighting Texas Aggie back when Bonfire was still there. Excuse me. And we were working on Bonfire on Stack that night. And it's just a thing. You smoke cigars when you work on Bonfire. Well, I had my first cigar when I was a freshman in college. And when you're working the stack, you just have to climb the stack, right? You just climb it. That's how, if you want to get up there to work, you climb it. Nobody's going to give you a lift up there. And it's really tall, dear listener. Like bottom stack is probably like 25 feet. So you're just climbing up this kind of stripped tree to get up to the first stack of Bonfire. Well, I had to put my cigar in my mouth, my first cigar ever. And I started climbing and I started climbing and I started climbing. Well, the cigar smoke was getting in my eye and I began to inhale it and I got really dizzy. And Luke, I got about 15, 20 feet up in the air and I passed out, dude. And I just let go and fell all the way down and landed on my back, dude. Got the wind knocked out of me. My buddies picked me up. It was just painful, dude. So I haven't really messed with cigars too much since then. I mean, I hope everybody understands. So
I can imagine after that experience.
Yeah.
Well, let's do this audio break. Dear listener, we have an audio break lined up for you. It's Rush's speech at CPAC 2009. And
yes,
this CPAC speech, this was the first time I'd ever heard a political speech that I was like, oh my God, this will change the way you think. Now, looking back on it now, I'm much more, I would say, even if so self-educated, but educated since then, so to me, this isn't nearly as, profound in terms of, politically speaking as it was then. But, at the time I remember thinking, my God, this is next level stuff here. It's funny.
Yeah.
And I remember, Russ, the first place I moved after College Station was to Telluride, Colorado. When I was like 24, 25, this is 2009. So yeah, I was like 24, 25, something around there. And I remember, it was just shit libs everywhere. And I would open my window to my apartment and I would just blast this speech out of my windows into the parking lot below for everyone to listen to. And I would do that anytime I was home. I just open my window, turn my speakers outward, and blast this speech out for all to hear. Anytime I was home, I would just do that constantly. Because I was like from Texas, I was like, yeah. And I just thought it was hilarious. And this is that speech.
Yeah. I've seen it numerous times, man. I'm glad you thought to play it for this audio break. So let's do it, man. We've got part 1 of 9 queued up. We're going to play about 7.5 minutes, and if it depending on where it breaks, might go to part 2 for just a minute. Does that sound good to you, Luke? Is that cool with you?
Yeah, sure, man. No worries.
All right. Well, dear listener, thank you so much for riding along this first third of these 69 miles on this trail with us. Luke and I are a little bit somber right now. We're going to go get white-pilled, get ready for the white-pilling segment 2. We want you to enjoy this speech of Rush Limbaugh at CPAC. Enjoy it. Send the man your best wishes. And Luke and I will be back at you before you know it. Enjoy Rush.
Which means, ladies and gentlemen, this is my first ever address to the nation. Thank you. Now, I have someone in back taking phone numbers. In fact, I would like to introduce to you my security chief, man who runs all of my security. His name is Joseph Stalin. Joseph, would you please... I am safe from any liberal attack in public because they would be afraid of offending Stalin. Now, the opportunity here to address the nation, serious one, it really is, and I want to take it seriously. I want to address something. I know that people are probably watching this who never have listened to my program and may not even really know what conservatism is. They think they do based on how they've been told, the way we've been impugned and maligned and so forth. One of the things that is totally erroneous about me, and I just want to get this up front, is that I'm pompous and that I am arrogant. Neither of these things are remotely true. I can tell you a joke to illustrate this. Larry King passed away, goes to heaven. He's greeted by St. Peter at the gates. St. Peter says, "Welcome, Mr. King. It's great to have you here. I want to show you around, give you an idea of what's here. Maybe you can pick a place that you'd like to reside." King says, "I just have one question. Is Rush Limbaugh here?" No. He's got a lot of time yet, Mr. King. So St. Peter begins the tour. Larry King sees the various places, and they're just beyond anything we can imagine in terms of beauty. Finally gets to the biggest room of all with this giant throne. And over the throne is a flashing, beautiful, angelic neon sign that says Rush Limbaugh. And Larry King looks at St. Peter and says, "I thought you said he wasn't here." Says, He's not. This is God's room. He just thinks he's Rush Limbaugh. So you see, I'm not pompous. Now, seriously, for those of you watching on C-SPAN as well and on Fox, I want to tell you who we all are in this room. I want to tell you who conservatives are. We conservatives have not done a good enough job of just laying out basically who we are because we make the mistake of assuming that people know. Well, what they know is largely incorrect based on the way we are portrayed in pop culture, in the drive-by media, by the Democrat Party. Let me tell you who we conservatives are. We love people. When we look out over the United States of America, when we are anywhere, when we see a group of people such as this or anywhere, we see Americans, we see human beings. We don't see groups, we don't see victims, we don't see people we want to exploit. What we see is potential. We do not look out across the country and see the average American, the person that makes this country work. We do not see that person with contempt. We don't think that person doesn't have what it takes. We believe that person can be the best he or she wants to be if certain things are just removed from their path, like onerous taxes, regulations, and too much government. We want every American to be the best he or she chooses to be. We recognize that we are all individuals. We love and revere our founding documents, the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. We believe that the preamble of the Constitution contains an inarguable truth, that we are all endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights, among them life. Yeah. Liberty, freedom. And the pursuit of happiness. Now, those of you watching at home may wonder why this is being applauded. We conservatives think all three are under assault. We don't want to tell anybody how to live. It's up to you. If you want to make the best of yourself, feel free. If you want to ruin your life, we'll try to stop and make it but it's a waste. We look over the country as it is today, we see so much waste, human potential that's been destroyed by 50 years of a welfare state, by a failed war on poverty that has destroyed.
All right, dear listener, segment 2 is queuing up right now. This is so white pilling. Let's just ride along with it here for just a little bit. Thank you so much. Enjoy.
We love the people of this country, and we want this to be the greatest country it can be, but we do understand, as people created and endowed by our Creator, we're all individuals. We resist the effort to group us. We resist the effort to make us feel that we're all the same, that we're no different than anybody else. We're all different. There are no two things or people in this world who are created in a way that they end up with equal outcomes. That's up to them. They are created equal to give the chance. So, we don't hate anybody. The racism in this country, if you ask me, and I know many people in this audience, let me just deal with this head on. You know what the cliche is of a conservative: racist, sexist, bigot, homophobe. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen of America, but if you were paying attention, I know you were, the racism in our culture was exclusively and fully on display in the Democrat primary last year. It was not us asking whether Barack Obama was authentic. What we were asking is he wrong? We concluded, yes. We still think so, but we didn't ask if he was authentically black. We didn't say, as some Southern Christian leadership conference leader said, Barack is not authentic. He's not got any slave blood. He's really not down for the struggle, but his wife does. So don't expect the race industry to go away. Southern Christian leadership, you may not even know this, it wasn't reported in the drive-by media. The racism, the sexism, the bigotry that we are all charged with, just so you across the United States of America know, and you'll see demonstrated here as the afternoon goes on, doesn't exist on our side. We want everybody to succeed. I am... You know why? You know why? We want the country to succeed, and for the country to succeed, its people, its individuals must succeed. Everyone among us must be pursuing his ambition or her desire, whatever, with excellence, trying to be the best they can be, not told, as they are told by the Democrat Party, you really can't do that. You don't have what it takes. Besides, you're a minority or you're a woman and there are too many people that are willing to discriminate against you. You can't get anywhere. You need to depend on us. Well, take a look. Someone has to say this. I am thrilled for the opportunity to say it in my first national address to the nation. I'm going to touch on this in more detail in a moment, but this is just to get you thinking. Take a look at all of the constituency groups that for 50 years have been depending on the Democrat Party to improve their lives. Yeah. And you tell me if you find any. Yeah. They're still complaining. They are still griping about the same problems. Their problems don't get fixed by government, and those lives have been poisoned. Those lives have been cut short by false promises from government representatives who have said, don't worry about it, we'll take care of you. Just vote for us.
All right, welcome back to HSP episode number 69. I was like, what episode are we on? I was like, oh yeah, of course, 69.
Man, that's so white pilling. I've listened to that speech numerous times. It's so good, dude. Man. I'm glad you thought of it.
That's truly a legendary speech. I really like it a lot. And this is the thing that I like about Rush is he just really hits home the things that the political right ought to be doing but aren't and never have.
Yep.
Which is focusing on things like individual rights, independence, just all of the values that the traditional right ought to be driving home. Rush has always done a very fine job of doing. And another thing that about Rush that I didn't mention as we were coming out of segment 1 is I just love the way he's managed his career. He's always managed to stay in the thick of it while also not cucking and playing to the masses, but also not just, I don't know, he's just done such a good job of managing his career, and I love that about him.
Yeah, truly. He's the pioneer, and it's exemplary for all of us, right? He created his own success after numerous attempts and fails. He created his own success in the end. What a role model, just an absolute role model.
Totally.
So,
all right. Well, we should move on.
Yeah.
Up next on the trail map, acquittal. I mean, probably everybody's expecting us to start our show off with this stuff, but we prefer to focus on the important things. And move these sort of just run-of-the-mill political happenings that seem to be so commonplace in our political landscape today, like, things like impeachment and acquittal. These are just normal, everyday topics at this point.
Yeah. Russia. Yeah. Well, I mean, we called it. We knew it was going to happen. We called it right down to Mitt Romney cucking. We did. You know what I mean? And I don't think it was within anybody's purview of doubt, that he would not be fully exonerated. Of course he was going to be, you know? Yeah. But still, man, when I listened to the vote happen live, I was at work and I put the vote on. I listened to every single vote. And, oh, man, that magic number of 36. OK, they only had to get 36 nays for acquittal on both acts. And when they hit that number 36, I was counting 1, 2, 3, 36. It's done. All right. 1, 2, 3, 36. We're out of here. I'm sorry. It's 34. It's done. It's over. And I was so happy. I felt the weight of the world lift off my shoulders. And when I have to say also, when President Trump gave the prayer breakfast speech the next day and his victory lap speech from the White House, I could tell that the weight of the world was also lifted from his shoulders for just a brief moment, and it was great, dude. It was great. So white pilling.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I wasn't worried about it the whole time. I mean, I knew that he was going to be acquitted, but yeah, I mean, it was, for me, it's more the moment. I wanted to witness the moment. I knew what the moment was going to be, but what was important for me was to witness a moment in history.
Same here.
And that's what this was. This week was a moment in history. This is not, I mean, yeah, we joke, oh yeah, this is just politics today. This is just the par for the course, which is sad and unfortunate thanks to the Democrat Party. But which, by the way, this is something that has been really annoying me. It's not the Democratic Party. It's the Democrat Party. Right. I hear so many people saying the Democratic Party, blah, blah. It's not the Democratic Party. It's the Democrat Party.
Yes, it is.
It's just, this was a moment in history. Yes, it's par for the course, but it's also going to go down in history books. This is going to be studied for centuries.
Forever.
As long as there's recorded history of humanity, this will go down as just in the same way we read about, et tu, Brute. We will read about et tu, Schiff,
Yeah.
I know. Et tu, Bolton. That's what this will be.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. We will. And there will be movies made about it. There may even be plays made about it, I don't know, musicals made about it. Who knows? It could take the form of any fictional art form. But yes, this will be dramatized and studied in political science forever and ever. And so, and you're right. The history of the moment cannot be understated, dear listener. That was history. If you were like me and you listened into the vote, right, just to hear it, you witnessed history happen in real time. And it was just fantastic. Oh, man. I was the same as you, Luke. I didn't doubt for a moment. We all knew, but oh, man, I felt the relief nonetheless. I was like, finally, we can get on with business, But we know that they're already cooking up more charges. They're maybe even going to try to run another impeachment. They are going to try to subpoena John Bolton and get him to testify before the House Judiciary Committee. And, look at the spike in Trump's approval rating after this impeachment. Do it, Dems. Do it. I dare you. I double dog dare you. Do it again. Please.
Yeah, I've already seen that they're about to launch new charges, and they're like, oh, it's just getting.
They are.
It's actually stuff like with Trump's financial statements where they're like, oh, well, we just these aren't new charges. We just put them on the back burner once Ukraine came out. So now we're just moving them back to the front burner. That's how they're pitching this.
That's right. That's exactly right. Not to mention they have to get Supreme Court decisions about his financial documents. They have to get a Supreme Court decision about subpoenaing Don McGahn because he invoked executive privilege against their subpoena. And so there are a lot of things are going to be determined by the Supreme Court in this going forward. I am confident in the Supreme Court on these decisions. John Roberts is kind of a cuck, right? We called him out in 1968 for being a cuck. I'm certain he's going to rule constitutionally in these cases. I'm 100% certain. So I'm not worried. But they're going to try. They are going to try. I mean, because God, man, and this is something I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, dear listener. We're going to get we're going to get up to this on the trail here in just a little bit. But their party is absolutely destroyed. Their party is on fire. Luke, I'm not even sure that you can call them a political party anymore. And so they must impeach this president or they lose everything. They lose everything.
Dude, we've called this since episode 1. We've called this since episode 1 when we said that, you know, Trump burned the right burned down and rebuilt itself within a primary season. The Democrat Party burned down and has never rebuilt itself. It's still figuring it out, dude. A year and a half later, man. 69 shows later, in a year and a half, more than a year and a half, we're almost at 2 years. They are still in the flailing, dying, burning corpse of a party.
Yes. Yes, they are. And we have called it since episode number 1. Go back and check it out, dear listener. We did. And oh, man, feels good to be right, man. It feels good. But I mean, it's not even a matter of being correct. This was never opinion. This is simple observation about what's going on with them. Simple observation. That's it. And, you know, and now you see this united Republican Party. It was clearly evident at the speeches Donald Trump gave this week how united that party is, the Republican Party.
Dude,
and once again, the corollary, more than ever. Yeah. And the corollary thereof is that the Democrat Party, it has never been more apparent right out there in the open how wrecked they are. Just wrecked, dude. It's great. It's great. So there you go. I mean, dear listener, and also, you know, we also said this, right? The real corruption with this Ukraine gate scandal is with Joe Biden and Hunter Biden. It has never been with Donald Trump. We were right about that in the very beginning as well. We called it on bots and HSP number early 40s when they started cooking this up last summer. We were right. You know what I mean? And it's not bragging, dear listener. We're not trying to brag about being right. It's just always been simple observation. This is going to go nowhere.
Yeah.
And oh, man. Yeah. Yeah. But it does feel good, if I may say, which I do. Oh, man. So what do you expect? What do you expect? More cockamamie charges coming up? That's fully what I expect.
Yeah, they're going to move on to, I think they'll move on to his financials now. They'll move on to his financials to figure out another way to impeach him. They're, again, dude, they're an offsuit 2-3 fully bought in. That's it.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I agree.
And you're starting to see Bill Maher, like you were talking about. Russ and I were talking before the show. Russ had briefly mentioned this before the show in our pre-show call, and all of many other people. Carville, James Carville, coming out like, what are you doing?
Yep.
Like, this is not even political. Like, what's the playbook here? What's your end game here with this?
What did you mean by this?
I mean, there's no strategy to this at all.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what I think is going on here. And this is my honest opinion, Luke. I think there is, as John and I were saying on the phone in a previous conversation, I think that there is true blood in the water surrounding Joe Biden and Hunter Biden. Okay. Yeah. I think there is blood in the water surrounding Adam Schiff. I think there is blood in the water surrounding Nancy Pelosi, and they know it. And if they don't get him out, they're in some trouble. They're in some serious trouble. So they can't stop. Yeah. Get Trump out. That's what I mean. Yeah. Sorry. I was unclear about that. Yeah. They are addicted to this power trip. They're addicted to this embezzlement of public funds. They're addicted to all of this money that they're making. Right. And we probably should talk a little bit about Bernie as well when we get to that part. Right. And their very existence as individuals is threatened by Donald Trump, and they must attack. They must attack. It's Custer's last stand right here is what it is. Yeah, I truly do.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, a lot of people are like, oh, they're out for power. And I don't like that. I don't like that analysis. It's not just power. There's a money component. They think about it like
Yeah.
this, dear listener. Think about it like this. They're like NFL athletes, right? Or a professional athlete. They graduate college, they get their $1 million signing bonus, and they go buy a $600,000 house. They got $400,000 left in the bank, and they have no idea that house is going to cost $100,000 a year just to maintain, right? And they've also got a car. They
Right.
bought a Lambo. They bought a house for their mom and their aunt and their cousins and so on and so forth. In other words, they get $1 million signing bonus, pretty much burn through it straight away because they're like, oh, well, it's all good. I'm making 500 grand, 600, 700 $1 million a year here on out anyways, So they burn through that, and then they've got this lifestyle where it costs $500,000 a year to maintain the lifestyle, and they're making $700,000 a year, and so they're continuing to buy more stuff, and then they get injured, they lose their contract, and then suddenly realize like, oh shit, I'm bankrupt, and then they declare bankruptcy. This
Right.
is all too common, and these politicians are not much different. They're probably a little more financially savvy. But these politicians have a lifestyle to maintain. And this lifestyle is being paid for by the Ukrainians, by Ukrainian taxpayers, the profits from Ukrainian energy companies, by American taxpayers, by lobbyists, by all these different entities funneling cash to them to maintain this lifestyle. So I don't buy this whole, they're just trying to maintain power. No, they're trying to maintain an income to support their lifestyle that they know, their cushy lifestyle.
Yep.
Nancy Pelosi's $70 million house in the top of Russian Hill.
Right.
This is what they're trying to maintain.
It is no accident that they are elected to office on a meager salary of what I believe in the House, it's $174,000 per year. I think that's right. And then they come out filthy rich. Just look at Maxine Waters.
Yeah.
$4 million house, not even in her own district. She doesn't even live in her own district. She has a $4 million house. How does this happen? How does it happen? Exactly the way Luke just described.
It ain't no book deal.
That's it. Yeah. Right.
And speaking fees, give me a break. $500,000 for like a 30-minute speech. That's corruption, pure and simple.
Absolutely.
And all these people are corrupt.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
they are.
And Trump's the first one to come along and threatens to blow it up. Russ, did you hear about this bar, Durham? Oh gosh, who was it, man? I saw an article. I didn't put it in my show prep. I should have. It was Scalise, Steve Scalise.
Steve Scalise?
Yeah. He came out, I think it was today on like a news program. He's like, I've seen a lot of classified information in Durham's report. And he was like, if Durham names names, then people will be in jail.
Dang. No, I didn't hear about that.
Yeah,
Wow.
Steve Scalise said that today.
All eyes are on you, William Barr and John Bull Durham. As we've said for the last 2 shows straight, now 3. Yep. All eyes are on you, man. I believe him straight up. I believe him. And no, it's not that I believe him. I'm certain it's true. That's it. I'm certain it's true.
Dude, speaking of which, so this Durham Barr investigation, what do you think?
I'm optimistic. I think that there's a lot of business going on that we just don't know about behind the scenes. I think we've done a pretty good job of reporting the facts that we can name, particularly about how they traveled the world and gathered evidence regarding Spygate. Okay. My gut feeling is that heads are going to roll when either the report is released or just a slew of indictments. One of the two, just an absolute waterfall of indictments. Either way, and, I'm looking at the Bidens. I'm looking at John Kerry. I'm looking at Nancy Pelosi and the corruption with her son in Ukraine. A lot of people. Right. And that's my gut feeling. How about you?
As always, when it comes to things like this in politics, I will believe it when I see it. When names
Same here. Yeah.
When it will get interesting when the report gets released and names get released, then it will become interesting. And whether we will know whether the government is serious or not when people start going to jail.
Yes, indeed. This is a litmus test. Yeah. Exactly. This is a litmus test about how powerful and expansive the deep state truly is.
Yeah. If under a Trump administration and names get named, if under those conditions still nobody, the hammer doesn't get dropped, then in my opinion, the government is it's out of control and there's nothing we can do other than at that point some sort of I don't know, man. It's going to be one of two. It's going to be one of two things. Either A, there's going to be some sort of economic collapse and the country is going to be in an economic free fall, and then some like serious changes are going to have to happen, or they're going to come for the guns, and then some sort of a civil war is going to break out. I mean, if under a Trump administration and with these conditions, if the government really is a runaway train and there's nothing anybody can do, then the only thing I can see at that point is some sort of complete disaster. And how that disaster plays out could be a number of different things. Again, economic freefall, armed revolution, civil war. I don't know, but if we're really to the point that nothing can happen, then I don't see how it can end in any other way than some sort of cataclysmic disaster.
Couldn't agree more. You nailed it. All eyes are on you, William Barr and John Bull Durham. All eyes are on you. The Republic itself depends upon what you find right now and what you're willing to release. And yeah, I think you nailed it, Luke. It could go any number of ways. But that said, with this negative potential, there is huge positive potential for our country. Huge positive. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes.
We'll see, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Meanwhile, dear listener, Luke and I will sit here poolside and on the trail, and we'll tell you about it as it develops. You believe that. And I don't know, Luke, I just have this feeling of things coming to a head. This election season has a lot to do with it. All of this corruption being exposed has a lot to do with it, but things are clarifying in a rather curious way. And more importantly, I think people are starting to get it. Individuals are starting to really get it.
Couldn't agree more, man. I think people see through the bullshit on the left more than ever.
Yeah, I do too.
I mean, here's a couple good examples. Like I've got this entitled, like in my show prep, Up Schiff Creek. It's like when they were the closing arguments for the impeachment, when Schiff was like, he could sell Alaska to the Russians.
What a fool, man.
It's like, who actually believes that?
Yeah.
I was sitting there thinking, it's like, well, we've already sold them our uranium supply. Like, what do they need Alaska for?
Right.
Russia's trying to get a cut in on the backcountry skiing market, the backcountry skiing filmmaking market,
Yeah, true.
Trump, this is Vladimir. We want the Alaskan spine lines for our Russian skiers.
Oh, man. Man, that was, I was just like, oh my God, this is so rich. Just, you smell that, dear listener? That's desperation is what that is. That is a Hail Mary pass attempt that just missed.
It's
absolutely
so pathetic,
missed.
dude. And he's got his little bug eyes. Dude, and like, the other thing he said, he was like, Trump could retire early to Mar-a-Lago and let Jared Kushner run the country.
Yeah, he did.
If he wanted to retire to Mar-a-Lago, he probably would not have run for president. I mean, something tells me you're not, that's like running for the president is not really something that you're kind of on the fence about,
Right.
Should I retire or run for the president of the United States?
Right.
This is a tough one. I don't know what I'm going to do here.
Yeah.
If he wanted to retire, he would have just literally done that. I mean, it's not like he needed the presidential salary to retire. You know, that's generally why
he doesn't take the salary.
Why people don't retire when they otherwise would want to retire. It's generally because like, oh, they need to put in another year or two to satisfy the requirements for their pension or something like this. You know,
right?
It's like that's not a factor for Trump. Like he literally just could have retired to Mar-a-Lago if that's what he wanted to do. This whole thing is it's just that argument is a non-starter. It's like,
I know. It's just so stupid. Yeah, I know. But I laughed when he said that. I literally laughed. My parents were laughing. I was laughing. I was like, man, this is great. This is fantastic.
You know, like, and it begs the question, Russ, like what else could Trump do? You know, he could, well, you know, we've detailed previously that this plan all along actually was to build a Trump Tower, Trump Hotel in Pyongyang.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Build one in Greenland. Build one in Moscow. You know, what else could he do? I mean, he could set up a conservative news media outlet competitive with Fox News because they've kind of turned a little bit distrustful lately, you know, quite frankly,
but I think
a little bit distrustful.
You know, I think that's far too reasonable. You know, we're talking real threats to the nation here. I mean, like, I wouldn't be surprised if Trump's plan for his second term is to build a dam spanning the Caribbean, drain the Gulf of Mexico to build more Trump hotels. That's a real possibility if he were to be reelected and we don't impeach and remove him.
For sure. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Trump hotel on Mars. Trump hotel on the moon. Yeah. Right? A Trump military base.
He's colluding with Elon Musk. That's what this is all about.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, he's channeling this communication through Joe Rogan because we know Joe Rogan is an alt-right, is an alt-right through connection, you know, through third degree connection.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, other things he could do is probably sell blue districts to Mexico. That's entirely possible. I mean, he probably should. It's basically Mexico as it is, but you know, it wouldn't really change anything.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He could launch a nuclear weapon underneath Colorado and just break it off into the sea. He could do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why not? You know?
I mean, he could literally, you know, trigger that super volcano lying beneath the Yellowstone National Park, that geyser.
Yeah. Absolutely. Bring about an extinction level event that will absolutely wipe out all of humanity. Sure. He can absolutely do that.
I mean, Trump could be responsible for wiping out all of humanity. It's not just it's probable. Yeah.
Probable. Yes. This man is so evil. This is what he is going to do. Yes. The possibilities are endless and nefarious, all of them, 201.
Oh, God. Well, we should move on. What about the acquittal speech?
Yeah, I loved it. I found both in the prayer breakfast speech and in the acquittal speech, his tone to be very measured. He was speaking very quietly. You know, at his rallies, he comes up and he's bombastic. You know, look at them back there, the fake news. You know, he was not that way this time. Okay. And in both of those speeches that he made, okay, I was like, dang, this is calm resolution. He is absolutely, he's fixing to blow them all up is what I took from it. You know, like particularly that comment that he made. And John and I were talking about this, that comment he made at the prayer breakfast speech where he was like, I don't like people who say they're praying for you when they're not. Now, he didn't say, I don't like it when people say they're praying for you and they're not. He said, I don't like people who say they're praying for you and they're not. Meaning, obviously, Nancy Pelosi, right? I found that to be a direct, not threat, a declaration of distaste, of despise of Nancy Pelosi. God, that both of those speeches, man. And really, honestly, the exoneration speech, I thought that was just a straight up Republican. What's the word? A pep rally. a Republican pep rally is what I thought that was. It was great, dude. It was great. What did you think?
Well, honestly, to be honest, man, I haven't had a chance to listen to the acquittal speech. I've been way too busy this week.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I mean, I've listened to some of it, like little bits and pieces here and there, but this week, I have not had a chance. And there's been so much content, there's like, the impeachment itself. And I listened to a bunch of that, but then there was, oh God, dude, there was this State of the Union, which I haven't even finished that. Then the acquittal speech, the prayer. I mean, there's so much stuff to listen to this week that
I know
it's probably going to take me another week just to get through it all. I will listen to it all, but it's probably going to be another week before I get through it all.
Yeah. It's a lot. It was hard for me to keep up, I've got it here, man. Here's the link coming at you in the chat. Yep. Shoot. Let's just play 30 seconds of it. What do you think?
Sure.
Play 30 seconds?
Go for it. Yeah.
All right, here we go. I'm at 9 minutes into the speech. Here we go, dear listener. Oh, and it's
after people went bankrupt, after people lost all their money, people came to Washington to help other people. Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, I say. They came, one or two or three people in particular, but many people. We had a rough campaign. It was nasty. It was one of the nastiest, they say. They say Andrew Jackson was always the nastiest campaign. They actually said we topped it. It was a nasty both in the primaries and in the election. But you see, we thought after the election it would stop, but it didn't stop. It just started. And tremendous corruption.
Dang. Tremendous corruption. Wow. That's the tone of the whole speech right there, Luke. I mean, except when he's saying thank yous to various members of the Republican Party, Mitch McConnell, among whom got the biggest shout out from the president, but numerous others did as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's his tone, except for the pep rally part. That's exactly the way he spoke that whole. It's a little over an hour, the speech. Totally off the cuff. He did the old school thing where he's not reading from a teleprompter. He walked out onto the dais and pulled notes out of his inside suit pocket and just laid them on the table.
Yeah.
He's like, here we go. Yeah.
Which is always when he's at his best, to be fair.
Yes. Yeah. I think so too. When he goes off script. Yeah, I do too. So yeah. Oh man. Good stuff, man. What a week of winning. I'm serious. Just nothing but wins. Man, so, okay, did you at least have time to watch all of the State of the Union address?
Not all of it. Probably about three-quarters of it.
Okay, so you saw Rush. That's what I thought was the real important part. Okay, yeah. And so in all of the people, the American citizens whom he called out, I thought that also was just nothing but white pilling. I thought the Republican unity was white pilling. I thought the Democrat hatred of the American people was also white pilling, to be perfectly honest. And the culminating event, Luke, everybody's talking about it. What did you think about stretch face Pelosi ripping up the speech at the end? What did you think about that?
Oh, dude, as I saw that, I was just, first of all, obviously I haven't seen the State of the Union address all the way to the end. So it was, on Twitter and media outlets and whatnot that I saw that. But when I saw it, I was just like, my God, what are these people thinking?
Yeah.
It just makes me wonder, like, did she come up with that on her own, or did somebody tell her like, hey, you should tear up the State of the Union address at the end? And
I've wondered about that too. What we do know, and there is video evidence thereof, she took each individual page and pre-tore it underneath the table, and it was premeditated. We just don't know where she got the idea from. And her coming out and virtue signaling about, I was reaching out a hand of friendship to the president. And, because he was just he looked a little bit sedated to me, and he did last year too. So I was just doing him a favor by ripping up his speech. God, what an idiot. She premeditated it. It's provable. This is not conspiracy theory. It's conspiracy fact. She pre-tore the pages. so she could make as big a demonstration as possible. Once again, you smell that? Desperation. Oh, I love it. I love it, dude. It's so good.
Yeah. It's just pathetic, dude.
It was.
They have nothing.
And yeah, I know. And you know why she thought that this was going to be a good idea to do this? I don't know. Even leftists are kind of calling her out on that. Like, dang, okay, that's a little bit of a step too far. Worldwide, I know in the UK, according to John, she has been panned completely by leftist and right-wing media all over the world. Right? It is unanimous against her actions. Right? That's just way beyond the pale. And God, man, those disgusting faces she was making the whole time, flipping the pages around, licking her lips. Oh my God, it was just absolutely disgusting. I mean, physically disgusting. I'm not talking about morally disgusting. I'm talking physically disgusting. Watching this reptile lick her lips like this. Oh man, I was absolutely disgusted. And I don't know, man. I think even considering the statements that she made, that right then walking out of the House chamber the next day in press conferences, dude, I think she is done. I think she is. And first of all, I'm going to prediction number one. The Republicans take back the House handily in the 2020 election. Handily. Secondly, even if they don't, Nancy Pelosi as speaker is done. She is finished. You are looking at Nancy Pelosi right now, dear listener, in your rear view mirror, just as you are. Mitt Romney. You take it to the bank. You cash that check. You believe it. She's done. She is done. She cannot survive this.
Yeah, I think that she comes from this breed of the left where they're just not going to give up. You know,
I agree. Yeah.
So I would expect her to run again. I don't think she's just going to retire. I think she'll have to be retired.
Yeah, I do too. And, you know, with all the vote rigging that goes on in San Francisco, she'll probably win that seat again. Yeah, let me put it this way. Okay. You're right. That's a good check. I don't think her political career is finished. I think her influence is finished. That's what I think. I think also, let me put it this way. She just threw open the door to Democrat socialist takeover of the Democrat Party.
Yeah,
she threw
I agree
it open.
with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think,
yep.
I think that I don't think her influence is finished because, and I say that because I think that the mechanisms of her influence are still deeply cemented in place.
Yeah, she's a player.
But the tide of unseating those mechanisms has now been put into motion, set into motion.
Yes. Well said. Yeah, that's the better way to say it. I agree. Yeah.
So, yeah.
And you're right. She's the Terminator. She'll never quit. But, excuse me, dear listener, but this is the beginning of the end. Not the end. It's the beginning of the end.
Right.
For her.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think by virtue of her, I think what you're seeing is by virtue of that being her, it's necessarily the case that it's also the blob. This is the end of the blob. And I think that you are going to see, especially, and we'll get to this here in a second with the Iowa caucuses, Bernie coming up so big in Iowa. I mean,
yeah,
that's it. You know, had Bernie gotten cucked out of Iowa and had a poor showing, then that would have emboldened Pelosi and company to continue with their shenanigans. But with Bernie on the come up and Biden finishing last, dude, I think they're the socialist party now.
Yeah, I do too.
Not now, I agree. But in the near future.
Yeah,
again,
I agree.
Again, like we said, this
I agree
is the beginning
100%.
of the end.
Yeah. Yep. It is. They will go full on socialist. And, you know, again, John and I were also talking about this, and I've said it numerous times on numerous previous shows, right? I really wish Bernie Sanders had been allowed to win the nomination in 2016 because he would have lost to Trump in that election, right? And we would have already had the final debate about this capitalism versus socialism direction of our country. Okay. I now think that it is very possible that Bernie Sanders becomes the undeniable winner of the Democrat Party nomination. He is so batshit crazy socialist now. Maybe he is more of a threat and maybe he is less of a threat, but maybe we get to have this conversation, capitalism versus socialism in the United States in 2020. You know, we'll see how it goes. Lots is going to happen. And I'll tell you, Luke, I'm really stunned, right? I really thought back, you know, when we first started covering Dem primaries, I really thought Elizabeth Warren was going to be the front runner at this point. Man, she's done. Elizabeth Warren is done.
Agreed.
She's out. She's gone. Now, I did not see that coming. You know, I did not see Mayor Pete Buttigieg coming to the advent that he has. I did not see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I actually tweeted out a prediction this week and got it totally wrong. I thought that when it came out that Buttigieg had funded that company Shadow that built this crappy app, I was like, this is Buttigieg's campaign is already on thin ice. It's already on weak legs. You know, any slight push and they're done. And I tweeted out, I was like, so you heard it here first. They're done. And then turns out he won. Or actually, I think, did Bernie come out and win at the very end?
It's neck and neck right now. You know, where I come from, when you have 6,000 votes more than your opponent, that means that you are the victor, is what he said yesterday. We'll see. I mean, dude, it is such a damn mess. Here it is a week later. Nobody knows who won the Hawkeye Cockeye. Nobody knows who won the Iowa caucus because they blew it so bad in a flagrantly corrupt attempt to derail Bernie Sanders, and it failed. It blew up in their face, man. So who knows? They're saying right now that they are going to recanvass all of Iowa. That essentially, not exactly, but it essentially means that they are going to go recount their reporting sheets district by district. They're not going to recount every individual vote. They can't do that because it's a caucus system, right? It's not a primary. It's a caucus system. So you can't really go back and recount that, right? They're going to have to go back and manually recount the records thereof. And so, man, by the time they get it right, New Hampshire will have already happened. I mean, it's done. It's done, you know? And, you know, Buttigieg coming out and saying, you know, declaring victory in the Iowa caucus before the results were in, shrewd political move, but dang. Here's another thing about it, Luke. Okay. When they came out on, I think it was Tuesday, before the State of the Union address, for their rationalization of why they had screwed up so badly. This app gave us trouble and 4chan trolled us and they called all of our reporting lines. And so nobody could get through. They literally said this, that they got trolled by 4chan. You know what I mean? And God, just everything went wrong. God, just imagine the excuse that they came up with that, you know, Buttigieg had something like 26.3. Bernie had 25.7. And everybody else was just kind of nowhere on the map at that point. Okay. Their excuse and their reporting perfectly fit the cover up narrative, in my opinion, of why it was that they blew it intentionally. And by the way, speaking of that app, did you hear about that? These were all Clinton campaigners that designed this app.
Yeah. But I didn't understand your previous point. Explain that.
Okay. My point is this. When they came out before Tom Perez, the head of the DNC, came out and said, we're going to recanvass all of Iowa, enough Iowa, we got to recanvass everything. Before that happened on Thursday, okay? When they came out with their rationalization about, oh, God, we had problems with this app.
Right.
We got trolled by 4chan, but like we've recounted everything now. And yeah, it turns out that really, believe us, Pete Buttigieg did win the Iowa caucus. Bernie came in second. And who was it? Elizabeth Warren came in third. Biden came in fourth. And Amy Klobuchar came in fifth. Yeah, really, believe us. Okay. It was the perfect excuse for why the app failed, why the caucus failed, why it was that Pete Buttigieg came out and declared victory before he had won. It was the most convenient and least plausible excuse for what happened in the Iowa caucus. In other words, okay, this is all it is. I'm using too many words. That excuse that they made was ass covering, patently clear ass covering for the way things worked out. And I'm certain that there was corruption involved because Bernie Sanders was going to win Iowa. He was, you know what I mean? And they had to do anything they could.
But what was the excuse? I guess, I mean, that's what they said. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they said. Yeah.
Yeah. But what's that's just what they said.
Yeah.
So
it is a cover up for the fact that Hillary Clinton operatives tried to spike the ball on Bernie Sanders again in the second caucus.
I think I actually agree with you. I agree with you, but I'm curious to know if, like, for the same reasons or not. What makes it what about that makes it a cover up?
That they got caught red-handed spiking the ball against Bernie, and and also spiking the ball against Joe Biden and Elizabeth Warren, and putting their finger on the scales in favor of Pete Buttigieg, who had given $50,000 to Shadow Inc., who created that app. Right.
Okay. Well, let me. I'll explain why. Like, I think that this is a cover up. Like, what makes this a cover up? I think. Sure. I think what they did is they deliberately put. I think this was a cover up in the sense that they deliberately put Buttigieg on top, so it's not Bernie.
Yes.
But they put Bernie close enough to the top so that it's plausible that it wasn't a cover up.
Plausible deniability. Yes.
That's what I think happened.
Yeah, same here. 100%. Lou Dobbs had a poll on his show on Twitter on Thursday night. It was like, what do you think was the reason for the fail in the Iowa caucus? You have two choices. Corruption, number one. Incompetence, number two. Corruption won 75-25 in that scientific poll, as Lou Dobbs said, right? They think it was corruption. Luke, I honestly think it was both. I think it was absolute corruption and absolute incompetence. Both.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah. I mean, I'm, maybe it was like some boomers who couldn't figure out how to use the app,
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe it was corrupt boomers. Actually, I messaged this to Dan this week. It was like, that's the final boss of our generation, is not just a boomer, not just corruption, but corrupt boomers. That's the final boss.
Yeah. True. I agree 100%, man.
In fact, no, I remember. Yeah, Dan messaged me back and he was like, yeah, I'm imagining an old arcade game and, they're shooting okay boomer bullets and and then they fire like smashing them with a spicy Pepe meme for max damage. And then the final, I remember. And then it's like the final boss, he's like, boomer intensifies and powers up and starts returning fire with reverse mortgages.
Oh, dang. Oh, well done, Dan.
No, I said that back to Dan. I was like, oh yeah.
You did?
And then
well
they started
done,
returning fire with reverse mortgages. And what is it? 1038 capital gains deferments, tax deferments.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. It's too good. It's just too good. Oh, what a mess, man. But I mean, I tell you what I find really sad about this. Okay. Now, listen, we've got some Iowans here on the trail with us, and I've met numerous Iowans in my lifetime, and every single Iowan I have ever met in my entire life, I love to death. Every single one of them. Iowans are so wicked cool, right? In this situation, in terms of American politics, in the manifested in this year as Democrat caucuses, okay, I think that they have been given too much influence downstream over what happens in election years. Okay, it's a disproportionate amount of influence. Also, I think caucuses are just kind of weird. You really want to measure the pulse of what's going on with candidates? Take votes. Don't do this weird caucus stuff where you trade influence with each other and all that kind of stuff, right? So anyway, long story short, let me just get to the short of it. Luke, I'm hearing nothing except leftist media saying this is the end of Iowa. We're not doing Iowa caucus first anymore. It's over. And I think indeed, probably that's going to happen in 2024.
We're not doing that anymore.
Exactly. Yeah. These racists in Iowa, it's disproportionately pale. There really are no people of color in Iowa. That's why this got so screwed up. That's what literally the leftist media is saying. Now, I think that also is unfair. I think that it was unfair, the amount of influence the Iowa caucus had on the presidential election every 4 years. I think that Iowans being blamed for what happened is also unfair, man. It is the fault of the DNC entirely that this happened. Entirely. You know, it's not red-blooded American Iowans' fault. It's not the Iowa Democratic Caucus. It is the national DNC that is at fault here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the DNC.
Yeah.
They're this disgusting, corrupt organization.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
You know, another thing I was thinking is like after that, the next morning, I was like, you know, leave it to the DNC and the state of the left today that like only they could manage to get all of their candidates to be at 0% the following day.
True. True. Yeah, man, it's so funny. You know, I went to bed Monday night. Again, Monday was a bit of a traumatic day. I woke up early specifically because I was just like, okay, I'm checked out of politics for tonight. But I woke up early. I wake up early anyway, but I got up a little earlier on Tuesday because I wanted to check what was going on with the Hawkeye cockeye, as Rush calls it. And I started looking through sources. I was like, damn, I couldn't even understand, Luke. I was like, so there are no winners yet. Everybody is still at precisely 0%. The votes were supposed to be counted by like 11 o'clock last night. It's not a big state. You know, there are not millions of votes to count. There are hundreds of thousands of votes to count. And it took me an hour to understand that it had just completely crashed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it was impossible.
I woke up, I was like, oh, I wonder who won. And then I was like, okay. They all tied at 0%.
Same here.
Who won?
Same here.
0%.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. And as Trump so eloquently tweeted that morning, you got a party here who can't even count votes in the state of Iowa and they want to run your health care.
Yeah, totally.
True.
You know, but here's the thing is like Bernie has no right to be upset about this because, you know, under the eyes of socialism, this is just, they just eliminated the vote gap between candidates.
Right.
This is just
vote sharing.
Yeah.
Vote sharing,
just
bro.
Eliminated inequality.
Yeah, exactly.
And just like socialism, it put everybody at 0, which is more desirable than some having more than others. So, you know, at the end of the day, this is Bernie's optimal outcome. Is just everybody is equally 0.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Although, as we've detailed in these hallowed halls, dear listener, Bernie is very much a capitalist, a corrupt capitalist, a crony capitalist, as Peter Schweitzer has detailed in his new book. And we could get into that, but there's too much other content. We'll get into it some other time. He wants to be a capitalist for himself. He wants all of us to live under socialism, not him, us. You know what I mean? But Luke is being very funny here. And the ideology he pushes should be exactly this. Oh, we're all equal. We all scored precisely 0. This is the way the system should work. This is proof of the system working. You know, true. True.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Yeah. And the other thing that I love about this, you know, is like the left, we need to save democracy. Iowa caucuses. You know, Iowa caucus, rather.
Yeah. 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 Dang.
Yeah, this whole thing, this is something that, like when you said that, it reminded me of something I thought about a long time ago. I've always loathed this term, like corrupt capitalists or crony capitalists.
Yeah,
because
me too.
It's like, you know, you can't be both. You are either a capitalist or you are corrupt. If you're corrupt, you are by definition not a capitalist. You know,
conceptual package dealing. There it is.
Totally. Yeah.
Case in point. Yes. Yep.
And I thought of a meme. I didn't make this meme this week, but you know, like I'm in software, like I do software testing, but it's like, you know, there's a joke in the software development world when it's like the software does something that you don't expect, and then the product, and so the testers are like, yo, this is a bug, and then product development rationalizes it into being a feature and not a bug.
It's a feature, not a bug.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was like, that'd be so, like, I can just imagine, like, you know, smug Pepe DNC And it's like when it's a feature, not a bug. You know?
Yes. Yes. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, man. Oh man, what a train wreck. Oh my gosh.
I know, dude.
I know.
Well,
I know.
Where are we at? Where are we at on time? We're at 2.5 hours already.
Dang. Okay.
Well, we need to. So Biden came in last place. We should hit Hunter and go into break.
Yeah, there are plenty of other things in this bit. Dear listener, Matt Gaetz, we wanted to talk about that.
Yes.
How he filed an ethics complaint against Nancy Pelosi for shredding the State of the Union speech. That actually is a violation of federal law. We'll table that for some other time because we'll be referring to this throughout the halls of history. So we'll get it some other time. But yeah, man. So dang, Biden ended up in a shit ass way, if pardon my French, but he did. He ended up pretty poorly after this, man. Yeah. And as far as I can tell, for the most part, he's gone to ground in New Hampshire. He had one event. He ran over to the young girls and started petting their hair and all that weird crap he does.
Of course he did.
Before he went up to the podium. Yeah, you know. And as far as I know, he's only had one event in New Hampshire. And what do you think, man? What do you think? It's not looking good.
I think, dude,
it's not looking good.
I think his campaign's done, man. We'll talk about this at the Democrat debate, but dude, he just looked dead behind the eye. I mean, he always looks dead. He always looked crazed behind the eyes, but now he's like, we took a hit. I'm probably going to take another hit, but for some reason, I'm still up here talking. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what his debate performance was.
Yeah. I haven't seen it yet. I can't wait to grab bag it. We'll get there. But I'll tell you what I predict, Luke. There is no way that Joe Biden can get out of this election because he views it as political and legal cover for his corruption in Ukraine. In other words, he can always say that if Donald Trump or William Barr or whomever launches an investigation into his and Hunter Biden's corruption in Ukraine, he can always use this card that they used in this phony impeachment hearing that Donald Trump was abusing his power by investigating a political rival. Joe Biden can't leave this campaign. I mean, it's like I told John when we were talking in a previous conversation. It's like I told him, if Joe Biden gets to the point that he has to sell houses and stuff like that in order to fund his campaign, okay, yes, at that point he will eject. Until then, and his campaign does not have a lot of money already. They're not raising money. Bernie is, right? Buttigieg is. Biden is not, right? But for him to leave the political campaign exposes him because he loses his excuse about Trump investigating a political rival. Am I making sense?
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, he's this. I mean, I think we talked about it last time. He's the sacrificial lamb.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, we did. We did.
Yeah, he is the sacrificial lamb.
Yeah.
I mean, he has to be there because, you know, if he drops out, then boom, it's like Trump can just go after him full bore. But you know, if Trump goes after him too hard, it's a political opponent.
Yeah, right.
Can't do that.
Exactly so.
And yeah, so God, I mean, and maybe this was the case all along. Maybe this was why, you know, Obama never endorsed him, because he knew all along he was just a sacrificial lamb.
I have wondered the same. I have wondered this, you know. And for the record, I have heard recent rumors, and my parents apparently heard this some time back. There are rumors about that Barack Obama is going to come out and endorse Elizabeth Warren this week.
Yeah,
I'll believe it when I see it.
I've heard backdoor grumblings about how Obama likes her. Yeah, and I could see that. I mean, they kind of have a similar vibe, similar ideas, but
yeah, they do.
Stood with beer, I should say.
Stood.
She's done, dude.
I think so too. I think
it's Buttigieg. I think it's Buttigieg and Bernie.
Yeah, at this point, man, against all odds, I did not, when this campaign season kicked off, I did not see it getting to this point, but I agree with you. I think that's where we're at. You know, perhaps potential of brokered convention, but I'm beginning to think, well, if Obama does endorse Stood with a Beer this week, well, that rules out my pet theory about Big Michael. Pardon. Michelle Obama entering the race in a brokered convention. I think also they'll say she's their biggest gun right now. They will save her for 2024. So I was wrong about that. Maybe brokered convention with Hillary. She keeps flirting with, I'm so tempted to just come out and defeat Donald Trump again. Oh my God. She keeps saying this kind of crap. Man, it's anything can happen day right now. It's anything can happen. So, but I tend to agree with you. As things stand right now, it's Buttigieg and Bernie.
Yeah.
Who would have thunk?
Well, I've got an article here about Hunter. I can jump in.
Oh yeah, what you got?
Well, okay.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. So this is a Gateway Pundit piece titled "Johnson Officially Requests Hunter Biden's Official Travel Documents from U.S. Secret Service." Yep. Senators Chuck Grassley and Ron Johnson officially requested the official travel documents. My God, dude.
I know.
Where do these people go to school?
Gateway does such good work, though. But yeah, I know it's convoluted.
Yeah,
work on it, Jim. I know Jim Hoft wrote that piece. I have that piece, and I think, or was it Christina Layla? It was one of the two.
This one is Jim Hoft. Yeah,
Jim Hoft. Yeah, he throws out so many articles every day. But like, really, Jim, pay attention. Pay attention to these things. We love you, man. We love your work, but that's a hard sentence to read. Sorry, Luke. Sorry, man.
Oh, it's all good. Senators Chuck Grassley and Ron Johnson officially requested the official travel documents of son of official Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, from the official U.S. Secret Service. I'm kidding. I added a few officials in there. The move is part of their continued investigation of potential conflicts of interest. You don't say. This comes 2 weeks after 5 members of Joe Biden's family were accused of enriching themselves thanks to Joe Biden's lifelong quote unquote career in politics. Author Peter Schweizer, God, I pronounce that like a German. How would you pronounce that?
Peter Schweitzer.
Okay, yeah, in German it's Peter
Schweizer.
Schweitzer.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I read so much German now that it's just I see a word like that's a German last name, so I'm Schweitzer,
Yeah.
Described the findings in his new book in a New York Post article shortly published article shortly before its launch date. The Biden family has been wheeling and dealing in pay for play schemes for years. After leaving office in 2017, Vice President Joe Biden bragged. They put bragged with a capital B. About strong-arming the government of Ukraine to fire its top prosecutor. Yeah, we already know all this.
Yeah.
Well, that was a pretty basically worthless article. Where is my article about Hunter?
Well, I mean, they hit it in the lead pretty hard. And, like Jim Hoft is very good about this, filling in the historical details so that you put it all together into a coherent picture. But the lead is where he blew it out. Chuck Grassley and Ron Johnson have subpoenaed Hunter Biden's travel records aboard Air Force Two. They are trying to find evidence about him grifting in Ukraine and China.
Okay, so here we go. I had another article saved here. This is Daily Wire.
Oh, good.
So I just found it here. Yesterday, Johnson and Grassley sent a letter to Secret Service immediately following President Donald Trump's acquittal in the Senate, which requested information on Hunter Biden's travel records while his father was vice president. Quote, "We write to request information about whether Hunter Biden used government-sponsored travel to help conduct private business, to include his work for Rosemont Seneca in related entities in China and Ukraine," end quote, the letter stated. Quote, "In December of 2013, 1 month after Rosemont Seneca's joint venture with Bohai Capital to form BHR, Hunter Biden reportedly flew aboard Air Force Two with then Vice President Joe Biden to China. While in China, he helped arrange for Jonathan Lee, CEO of Bohai Capital, to shake hands with Vice President Biden. Afterward, Hunter Biden met with Lee for reportedly a social meeting. After the China trip, BHR's business license was approved. Then in 2015, BHR joined with Aviation Industry Corporation of China, AVIC, to acquire Henniges? I don't know. which was the, quote, biggest Chinese investment into U.S. automotive manufacturing assets to date, end quote. Quote, in addition to business dealings in China, Hunter Biden also served as a board member for Burisma Holdings, a Ukrainian energy company, end quote. The letter added, quote, in April 2014, around the time Hunter Biden joined Burisma, Vice President Biden reportedly became the public face of the administration's handling of Ukraine. It is unclear whether Hunter Biden received government-sponsored travel or a protective detail for these endeavors, end quote. The senators instructed the Secret Service to turn over the following records within the next 2 weeks. Please describe the protective detail that Hunter Biden received while his father was vice president. And 2, please provide a list of all dates and locations of travel, international and domestic, for Hunter Biden while he received a protective detail. In your response, please note whether his travel was on Air Force One or 2 or other government aircraft as applicable, and whether additional family members were present for each trip.
Dang.
Something tells me that his stripper's offspring wasn't present.
I think that's probably true. Oh, man. Dear listener, the water is getting really hot around Hunter Biden right there. And right now, Luke just detailed it right there. And man, thank you very much, Peter Schweitzer. This came out in his book, Profiles in Corruption, which just dropped earlier in January. It is now the #1 New York Times bestseller. And Peter Schweitzer did the work, dropped the facts. And now, man, Chuck Grassley and Ron Johnson are subpoenaing his travel records. You see the link there, don't you, dear listener? It's about them wrangling foreign money, the Bidens, together. There is now a government investigation into Hunter Biden. Not Donald Trump, Ukraine, Hunter Biden, Ukraine and China. Dang. And it sounds really serious, Luke. Yeah. They're looking at the right information, the correct information. That's what needs to be known. So,
All right, dude. Well, let's go to audio break.
Yeah, that sounds very good. Let me pull it up here. All right, dear listener, we are 2/3 of the way down this 69-mile trek. Thank you so much for riding along with us. Luke and I have heard rumor that Steve Bannon absolutely schooled Bill Maher on his own show last night. We have the audio pulled up for you right here. Enjoy it. And dear listener, Luke and I are going to refresh beverages, do our normal business. Luke and I will be back at you before you know it.
He's Trump's former White House chief strategist and the co-host of the War Room Impeachment and War Room Pandemic podcast. Steve Bannon has agreed to come by again. Great man, Steve. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for being polite. Okay, Steve, so look, I'm not going to lie about it. Your boy had the best week so far, don't you think?
His last 2 weeks. I think you see the culmination.
All right, I admitted it. Don't gloat.
No, but I think this shows you the actions he's been taking the entire time. It's not just the impeachment. It's the Middle East peace plan. It's what he's doing on opioids. It's USMCA. It's Brexit. One action after another.
Okay. But Steve, as a student of history, which I know you are, nothing this week bothered you? Like yesterday when we find out now that he's, the thing he said about Comey, we'll see what happens. If it was Obama, people would be in jail. Vindeman gets frog marched out. Mitt Romney is a suppressive person. This is very von Stauffenberg, isn't it? After the coup failed. No. You don't think it's an enemies list kind of situation that doesn't make you a little nervous? You trust him with that power?
No, absolutely. In fact, here's what I've argued from day one. We should have had a longer impeachment. We should have had Bolton. You should have had Mulvaney. You should have had all the OMB memos. Witnesses. Let them get crossed. But we get the whistleblower. We get the second whistleblower. We get Schiff as a fact witness. Let's get it all out. If this is not, and Trump says this, it's just not about Trump. This is about going forward the office of the president. If Bernie gets in and you're his advisor, trust me, the same thing's going to happen. If you think the neoliberal, neocon, national security apparatus is just going to sit there and let Bernie as commander in chief make the decisions that he's empowered to as commander-in-chief. They're going to fight him every step of the way, and that's why this thing has to be vetted. The abuses of the FBI and the CIA in the 50s and 60s culminated in the Church Commission in the 70s. That's what we need today. I think the Senate Judiciary Committee ought to start calling witnesses. We got to get to the bottom of the 40 subpoenas that were out there by the House Intel. We've got to you ought to declassify this Crossfire Hurricane and let Bolton, let Mulvaney, let them all talk. Let's get all the emails out there. Let's see the whole thing.
Okay, when you say Crossfire Hurricane, the liberal audience doesn't have the decoder ring for that one. That's just Fox News. I know.
It's an FBI. It's the FBI.
I know.
Right. But no, if they don't know it, they shouldn't.
Steve.
Listen, this is about civil liberty.
Okay.
This is about protecting the office of the president. Your audience should know that, and that's why it's got to be official apparatus.
Okay, Steve, I can't even. But let's go back to history, because he used words like scum, horrible people, evil people.
He has a different house style.
Okay,
but he's right.
Excuse me, we've seen this house style before. When you talk about people like that, when you're a cult leader like that who has millions of people, wait a second, he has millions of people who would obviously do anything for him, and now we only have loyalists in the government. Okay, so when you
that's not true.
Well,
that's where people were terminated today. Many of the people on that list,
they're just not loyalists, they're good people.
No, it's not loyalists. Remember, a commander in chief has the rights. The whistleblower and other guys like that were on the list that people that worked around me put together in April of 2017. Steve. These detailees, a commander-in-chief, whether it's Bernie Sanders, AOC, or Donald Trump, have the right to have people around them that believe in their policies and their program. It's not about loyalty.
Okay, these are people who we didn't even know existed. They were deep state people. Deep state meaning competent people who actually make the government work, who are nonpartisan.
I'm not a believer in the deep state.
Steve, let me get to question 2.
Okay.
Because we only have so much time. Okay. We've seen this in other countries. When you talk about people like they're scum and they're evil, we've seen it in Rwanda, cockroaches. We've seen it in Germany, vermin. You don't think that when you talk about people like that, your side, the people who hear those words, you don't think eventually it translates into action? They see people on our side as less than worth.
No. Absolutely not.
Why? Because we have the precedents I just mentioned. Why is it not like that?
You don't see
cockroaches, scum,
No.
vermin?
You don't. Listen, you'll see
not the same.
You don't see any actions of the deplorables or people doing that. Listen, for the last 3 years, Nancy Pelosi and the Democratic Party have sat there and said we have to protect the country. Donald Trump's a clear and present danger against Russian oligarchs. The Democratic Party today is looking to be saved by an oligarch. This thing is total hypocrisy.
Talking about Bloomberg.
I'm talking about Bloomberg, an American, a moderate Republican
very
mayor,
rich guy.
$71 billion,
yes,
a super rich guy. Right. And he's going to put billions of dollars to destroy Donald Trump. So the
run against him.
He's not running against him.
He's not running against him. What is he doing?
It's a leverage battle of the Democratic Party. He's already said, I will put $2 billion of capital in back of any candidate to defeat Trump.
Okay, one side always has more money than the other.
This is not about more money.
It's not about more money because the last time Trump had way less money and he won.
Absolutely.
Sort of.
You know why? Because Trump...
All right. But...
Hold on. It's that mentality that has you in this place today. And the place today is Trump is about to run the tables. You have a totally divided Democratic Party.
I agree with that.
No, because nobody sat there after 2016 and said, why did we lose? The same arrogance you saw in the people in Brooklyn that would not send Hillary Clinton to Michigan. And remember, Michael Moore always makes the point, I think there's 70,000 down-ticket votes in Michigan that didn't vote for a president. The reason is Trump reached out to these working class people and connected with them. Okay. And Clinton, it's the same arrogance you see in Iowa about this app.
Yes, there is that. But we mostly lose because a senator in Wyoming represents 290,000 people and a senator here represents 20 million. That's mostly why we lose. The Electoral College.
No, it's called a republic, sir.
It's called a republic with a very flawed foundation. Is it really democratic for one person to
represent? What I love about you guys. You've got to whine about everything.
Whine?
The game is, it's match play, not medal play.
No,
win it match play.
I understand what the rules are.
Show me you could win. No, you know what the rules are and you can't win.
You're right.
You're right.
You're right. Hillary should have gone to Wisconsin because it's an Electoral College game. I've admitted that many times. That's not the point. You said, why do you win? No. You win because the game is rigged for you. I get it.
Absolutely not. It is absolutely not.
The Electoral College. Okay. All right, Steve.
Hold on. With this attitude, the beauty, we're going to keep winning. We're going to keep winning. I love this.
I know you do.
You guys
I know you do.
How can you sit here? How can you sit here and have an oligarch, a Republican oligarch, that is going to be the salvation of the Democratic Party? Okay, it's outrageous. You guys have screwed. Well, Bernie's been screwed by the Democratic Party. Look at the last week. They wouldn't allow the poll to be released where he was up 4. Okay, then they do this thing as soon as the whole debacle about the count. Well, as soon as he starts closing in, the Democratic Party says, "Hey, let's have a recanvass." Okay. The Bernie voters are to do what they did in 2016. Right. We've had a belly full of the Clintons come either don't vote or come vote for Trump.
I understand why you're against Bernie. Yes, I mean he has Bernie. Too much social.
I like Bernie.
Really, you want socialism?
No. He's a populist.
Right. He's a socialist.
I don't agree. I don't agree with his solutions. I think a lot of. That's
kind of a big part of politics.
No. The biggest part. One of the biggest parts is identifying the problem. I think Bernie's identified the problem.
Trump and him shared some voters because they both kind of go after the same problem. You're right.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm just saying
the Bernie people help make Trump president. But you don't want to help make him president again.
Even I don't want
that by the Democratic Party.
Even I don't want that amount of socialism.
All right, dear listener, welcome back to HSP episode number, a very racy and inappropriate 69. You should probably explain what that laugh is from.
It's Beavis and Butthead, of course, dear listener. It's Beavis.
I know what it's from. Mm-hmm. But people are going to be like, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
Some of our listeners probably never listened to Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah, true. Fair enough. So, man, it turns out I think the reports on Twitter were correct. I think Steve Bannon just absolutely owned Bill Maher just now. What did you think?
Not as much as I thought.
Really?
Yeah, this is one of the things that I don't like about Steve Bannon, and especially his populism, where he's like, I agree with Bernie. He's identified the problems.
Yeah,
we all agree on what the problems are.
Enough.
It's like, I don't agree with Bernie on even the problems.
Anything.
Yeah, the solutions be damned. I don't even agree with him on the problems. I don't view inequality as a problem. I view that as a feature of existence.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to exist, if two people are going to exist, so too will inequality.
Absolutely. So, I agree.
He
cucked a little bit there. I agree. He did.
I don't think he cucked. I just think that's who he is and that's what he believes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think he's standing by his principles. He has bad principles.
Yeah. Fair point. That's true. Yes.
God, there were so many other things. Oh gosh. He was talking about, oh man, there was something else like before that. It was like everything that he said. I was like, I just wanted to jump in. I almost did actually. And then I was like, oh wait, we're on audio break right now. I was thinking it was GBS. Oh gosh, there was something else that he said, like about halfway or 3/4 of the way through. What were they talking about? Like right before that? Do you remember?
Oh, no, actually, I don't. Let me think about it. About winning. The Electoral College and how you sit here and bitch and moan about how the system is rigged against you. It's a republic, sir. It's a republic. Yeah. Is that what you were thinking of?
Yeah. There was that, and there was something even before that. But if you can think for a moment and try to remember while I explain this, the left is so funny. Anytime they lose, they blame it on the Electoral College. Anytime they win, the Electoral College is perfectly fine. But let's not forget, the reason why wars happen. It's not because all the people in the countryside decide to band together and start a war. It's because these despots in the city centers, fueled by intellectuals in the university systems. This is exactly what happened in Nazi Germany. They take power and they govern and rule over the countrysides. Nobody in the countrysides in Germany wanted to be a part of Nazi. They didn't care. For generations, these people had lived in their homes, passed down from generation to generation. They know their farms, they know their bakers, they know their locality. And that's all they know, and they're perfectly fine with that. They don't care about, we could go into so many tangents with this, with like the alt-right and the Groypers and everything, but like these people don't give a shit about the white race or anything like that. It's not even in their realm of thought. They don't care about going to war with France. They're just concerned about their locality. It's these elites and I hate that term elite because they're not elite. They're actually idiots themselves. The much more grounded and intelligent and smart people are the people in the countryside. It's these delusional people in the city centers that are surrounded in an echo chamber with professors and academics talking about nonsensical things about, oh, well, we can't know anything and blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah. Well, and then they start controlling the media and the newspapers, and then they start dominating over the countryside. This is why we need the Electoral College, because we need people who they don't live in an echo chamber. We need their opinions, and that's important. And they have a right to be heard on an equal playing field relative to the other people. So again, we've talked about this on previous shows. You need to allocate voice to geographical territory as well as population territory. When I say population territory, I mean population centers as well as spreading it across the geographic the geographic area. And it's just these people who go against the Electoral College are just truly, truly reprehensible, evil people.
Yes. They are the people who want the city centers to rule over the countryside. That's what they want. And then they bitch and moan that the system is rigged against them by design.
Yeah.
Which means, what that means is that they hate the country as founded. Unlike what Rush Limbaugh was just talking about in audio break number 1 about how we revere our founding documents. We love them. We revere them because it was the design, a legitimate, perfect design of a republic. And they hate it.
What they don't like is the Constitution stands in the way of us ruling over the country people, the small states.
Exactly so.
It prevents us
from
dominating them. That's why we don't like it. Because think about it. What does that really mean?
Exactly so.
They have a voice, right? And they don't want you to trample all over their way of life. They have a way of life. They're peaceful people. They want to live that way. They don't want a mob coming from a city and destroying that. That's it.
Yep.
And the Electoral College is there to make sure their voice is heard, even though it's small.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Yes.
Whatever happened to the left standing up for the little guy?
Right. Oh my God. If not for contradiction, they would have no standards at all. If not for double standards, they would have none. So
yeah, and he was saying something before that. God, dude, it's like honestly, everything. Steve Bannon did do a good job with Bill Maher, but almost everything he said, I took issue with when he was in. And it's not just Steve Bannon. There was a bunch of other people that say this too. It's like, well, the president has a right to remove anybody who wants from the NSC. It's not. Nobody's disputing whether the president has a right to. This is the difference between epistemology and morality. And the right gets so caught up in epistemology, which means just like fact. It's a fact that he has a right to remove whoever he wants from the NSC. That's not where the real argument lies.
See where you're going. Yeah.
The real argument lies, should he? And Trump actually got this. He tweeted it out. He was like, I removed him not because I have a right to, but because he did X, Y, Z, and that's why he's out. And Trump tweeted that out.
I had a moral obligation to remove him.
Yeah.
Yes.
But all the right, they're like, well, he has a right to. Nobody's disputing that. Bill Maher's not disputing that. Dude. He has an ought. It's not an is, it's an ought. He ought to remove him for reasons.
Yep. Absolutely correct. That's a great point, man. That is a great point. And Steve Bannon does kind of trip over these issues from time to time. Well, not from time to time, kind of consistently. He does,
And
I agree.
I think this is something that people don't give Trump credit for. Trump is constantly, disagree with his moral positions, but Trump does not get bogged down in fact. He goes to, we should do this. We shouldn't do that. This is good. This is bad. George Bush and Obama, they're obsessed with is, and Trump is obsessed with the ought, Now, sometimes Trump gets the is wrong. For the ought to be right, you have to have the is right too. The fact needs to be correct and true, which we would really say. The fact needs to be true if you're going to derive the proper course of action, the proper value from the fact, right? But what Trump does a really good job of is harping on the value, of harping on the ought, of harping on the action. And he does a really good job of that. And that's something that the right fails at entirely, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. Stay focused, maintain frame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I agree,
we're here,
100%,
so we're
man.
here to make sure the facts are right.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. The president is there to make the ought to do decisions. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly it. So,
well, let's do this GPS. Dear listener, you had no idea. I had no idea. Russ had no idea. Nobody had any idea that there was a Democrat debate this week because, frankly, nobody even cares. Like, literally, nobody cares. I was telling Russ before the show that I woke up on, when was the debate? Was it Thursday or Friday? I think it was Thursday.
last night. Yeah, it was Thursday. It was Friday night.
It was Friday
last
night. Hell,
yeah.
there we go.
Yeah.
You know, I like at the beginning of February, I honestly thought the last debate was whatever it was, like number 6, like a debate or two ago. And then like suddenly I saw something on the news. I was like, there's another one. And then I looked up on Wikipedia. I was like, there's 2 more, you know? And,
Yeah.
and so last week I was like, oh, there's another debate like next week on this day. I thought it was honestly a weekday. I would have stayed up and watched it, and so I kind of made a mental note, but I didn't put it in my calendar. And then I just completely forgot about it. And and I didn't even know about it until this morning because nobody's even talking about it. Nobody cares. The media doesn't care. Literally, nobody even cares. So, yeah, there was a debate last night, apparently. I don't know. Maybe there were some people who watched. I guess. Yeah.
I suppose.
Maybe some people talked about it. It didn't trend on Twitter. That's for sure.
Yeah. No, it didn't. Yeah.
In fact, I'm pretty sure there was an article that was like Gateway Pundit or something declared Whataburger the winner over In-N-Out. I think that trended on Twitter instead of the Democratic debates.
Oh, good.
Which they did. They declared Whataburger the winner. It wasn't Gateway Pundit. It was somebody else. It was some other major news outlet, but they like definitively. Yeah. I was just thinking, I was like, of course Whataburger is better than In-N-Out, dude. In-N-Out's terrible.
Of course. I love In-N-Out, man, but Whataburger is so superior. I mean, okay. Even though it's not Texas owned anymore, it's still superior.
Dude, like their burgers, In-N-Out's burgers are good. But their fries, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Are they're like if Adam Schiff were a French fry, that would be In-N-Out's French fries. Skinny, dry, frail, you know.
Well said. And they don't have spicy ketchup, which Whataburger has. They have spicy ketchup. Yep. Yes. Yep. Owned. Pooned. Absolutely pooned.
Yeah, it's like my roommate back when I was in living in Emeryville. I had my roommate was like Sacramento native, and he was like, "Oh, dude, you just have to get them extra crispy or whatever it is." And I was like, "Dude, like at Whataburger, you don't have to order food good.
Yeah,
you don't have to
specify.
You don't have to specify make it good. It's you don't have to qualify your order as like, hey, don't like make it good. You know, don't make it shitty. Don't do what you normally do, which is shit, and make it good. And what's the code word for that, anyways? What's the code word for make it good? I can't even remember. You know.
Dang. Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, I guess you have a point." I was like, "No, I have a point. The French fries suck. Yeah. Everybody knows it, and then you have to specify in some code language that to make them not suck anymore." Like,
yeah. Dang. Yeah, you're right though. That did trend on Twitter last night. It did. So that's entertaining, man. Truly. So
and the nation's more concerned about Whataburger versus In-N-Out than they are Joe Biden.
The damn debate.
Yeah, I can see it like some boomers sitting there eating their Whataburger, and they just kind of look up and they go, "Where's Hunter?" And then they just continue eating.
Yes. 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 That's what I do. Straight up. That's what I do. Can't blame him.
Sometimes I'm working, man. I just stop working. I look and where's Hunter?
Where's Hunter?
Okay. I just keep working.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, man. Well, before we do this, GBS, dear listener, Luke and I had the entire show prep this week between the two of us. I was thankful for Steve Bannon and Bill Maher both discussing Ambassador Sondland, getting the axe, Vindman being escorted out of the White House. Yes, dear listener, Luke and I knew about it. Too much to talk about. Economy of show prep here in the last audio break. We just allowed Steve Bannon and Bill Maher to explain it for us. There you go. So even though we didn't know what they were going to say, we did. That's the fact.
We honestly just outsource some of our show prep to people like Steve Bannon. They're happy to do it for us.
Yes. Oh yeah.
In this particular instance, we hit up Steve and we were like, yo, dude, this show's super packed. When you go on Bill Maher, can you talk about this so that we don't have to, and we can use you as an audio break? And he was happy to oblige. Thankfully,
he was.
Yeah,
always. Yeah, we're friends. So yeah. Oh goodness me, man. So. All right, I'm dreading this grab bag special, Luke. I'll just be honest, man. I say we do 2, maybe 3 at the most.
Yeah, and call it. We're already at 3 hours, so yeah.
I know. So, what you think, man? All right, so like the debate starts at about 1 minute 5 seconds in about a 5-hour clip. Okay, so there is a subtraction here of 1 minute and 5 seconds. I'm pretty much hovering around the beginning here at 1 minute and 5 seconds. Do you want to just take it from the top? You want to jump in the middle of it? What you feel like doing?
Let's do it. Let's just take it from the top and do it in chronological order for a few drops.
All right, sounds good. Let me back up a little bit. Oh, Uncle Bernie's making his point. I won the Hawkeye. It's at 105. Exactly. I was exactly right. All right, let's just take it from right here. You cool with that?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, coming at you.
Candidates will in fact have 1 minute, 15 seconds to answer a direct question and 45 seconds in yellow light. Now, the new hand
is for you. In the last few days, you've been saying that Democrats will be taking too big a risk if they nominate Senator Sanders or Mayor Buttigieg. But they came out on top in Iowa. What risk did the Iowa Democrats miss?
Oh, they didn't miss anything. This is a long race. I took a hit in Iowa, and I'll probably take a hit here. Traditionally, Bernie won by 20 points last time, and usually it's the neighboring senators that do well. But I'm no matter what, I'm still in this for the same reason. We have to restore the soul of this country, bring back the middle class, and make sure we bring people together. And so it's a simple proposition. It doesn't matter whether it's this one or the next. I've always viewed the first 4 encounters, 2 primaries and 2 caucuses, as the starting point. And so that's how I view it.
But why are Senator Sanders and Mayor Buttigieg?
Yeah, right there. Earlier in the show, I was like, he just seemed like he's given up. And that right there was what I was referring to specifically.
Took the words right out of my mouth. Yeah.
And so, I've always referred to this and that. I mean, what happened to the Joe Biden where he's got his pen in his hand and he's shaking it and
and we're gonna fight this. We're gonna fight them. Where's tough guy Joe Biden? Where is he?
Yeah. He's gone.
He's wherever Hunter is. Yeah.
He's a wet noodle now.
Yeah. And Luke, you were so right. He just looks pallid, frail, defeated. He looks dead. He looks frankly dead, reanimated, undead is how he looks. Ugh.
Maybe they're all aliens, man.
Yeah, maybe so. Man.
Maybe Mothership is like, restore his brain, come back. This is a lost cause.
Yeah, maybe so, man. Maybe
Biden just kind of woke up in the middle of a presidential campaign. Whoa.
And, I'm going to stay in this race so that Donald Trump cannot investigate his political opponent.
Yeah. I have to stay in this race so that, it's an impeachable offense. That's why I'm running.
Exactly so. Damn. Now, I'm not certain of this. Go ahead.
I can hear Hunter Biden. Dad, will you keep running for president? The stripper's suing me for her child support.
Yeah. And Dad, if they get those financial records from us, we are up a creek. Dad, can you please stay in this race? Yeah. Yep.
Meanwhile, Joe Biden, that's why I'm still running. That's why I'm still running. And his talking points are so like, that's why I'm still running, to raise up the middle class and, reduce divisiveness in this nation. So, yeah.
Be able to still fondle little girls, and so
young black children will be rubbing my blonde hair on my legs as I get out of the pool.
God. Oh man.
Yeah. Herbal essences is my favorite conditioner to smell. I just would like to throw that out there.
Dang. Oh, man.
I require all my campaign aides to condition their hair with herbal essences and to not completely rinse it out, to leave a little bit in there.
I use herbal essences on my blonde leg hairs. I use herbal essences.
That's why the black children like to stroke my leg hairs.
Oh, God. Oh, my God. Oh, man.
Creepy bastard, man.
Yeah, he is, man. Yes, he is, man. Creepy Uncle Joe, man. Yep. Yeah, he is. He is truly creepy.
I like the fact that like it's too difficult to choose which is the better nickname, creepy or sleepy.
I know.
And there's so many. It's like creepy Uncle Joe, sleepy Uncle Joe, quid pro Joe.
Yeah. Yeah, man. He's stacking them up.
Joe.
Yeah. He's stacking them up right now. And as we've argued in these hallowed halls, dear listener, previously, right, we do think that the president created the term Sleepy Uncle Joe because it was only one phoneme away from creepy Uncle Joe, we think. And it caught. Yeah. Oh, man.
All right. So so there's another exchange apparently when they're like, and by the way, they're like, how did they miss that risk? What does that mean? Miss the risk? That was the question they asked.
Yeah. Yeah.
They gave him a convoluted question and he gave a convoluted answer. So now they're doubling down on the question. Let's hear what creepy, sleepy, evil, rapey, quid pro, creepy Joe has to say.
Handsy. All right, here we go.
Too big a risk for Democrats?
Well, you know that with regard to Senator Sanders, the president wants very much to stick a label on every candidate. We're going to not only have to win this time, we have to bring along the United States Senate. And Bernie's labeled himself, not me, a Democratic socialist. I think that's the label that the president's going to lay on everyone running with Bernie if he's a nominee. And Mayor Buttigieg is a great guy and a real patriot. He's a mayor of a small city who has done some good things, but has not demonstrated he has the ability to, and we'll soon find out, to get a broad scope of support across the spectrum, including African Americans and Latinos.
Senator Sanders, let me give you the chance to respond first. President Trump's.
That was such a bad answer.
It was.
Like, he's like talking about Bernie, and Trump's. Bernie's a quote unquote risk, not in terms of ideological risk, but a marketing risk.
Yeah.
I mean, this just goes to show the blob middle. They have no ideas. It's all marketing. It's all branding. Indeed. It's all electability. They have no ideas. This is something that I respect about, AOC's an idiot, but at least she's principled. Bernie is not an idiot and he's principled. He has all the bad principles, all the bad ideas, but I mean, he's a worthy opponent,
Yes.
And Joe Biden's just like, oh, electability. And here's the thing: is like the Chapo Trap House, the Trapo Fap House listening crowd, and these people, like they all get it too. They're, you know, I said this on a previous show. I had a Facebook friend one time. He says, if you're voting for Joe Biden, what else have you given up on lately? And that's that was such a cogent and concise and brilliant statement, which is totally true.
It is.
If I were a leftist, I would be thinking the same thing. If you're voting for Joe Biden, what else have you given up on lately?
Yeah.
Because it's a risk. It's a risk to be principled. Give me a break. No, it's a risk not to be principled. It's a far greater risk not to be principled.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. Paper suits, all of these people. Like, let me obviate what Luke just said. Just one mo again, dear listener. This is pure surface level politics is all Joe Biden has. Pure surface level. Icing on the cake. Paper suits. Window dressing. No ideas. No philosophy. No true politics. Just business as usual. And we gotta win this election. You know, we also gotta win the Senate. You know, and That's it.
Yeah, and his like his stretch of, you know, he's trying to speak to the American people.
Yeah,
he's let me rephrase that. He's supposed to be speaking to the American people.
Right.
Who he's really speaking to is senators. He's saying, "Hey, senators, listen up. If I don't get the nomination, all of you are going to be lumped in as socialists. Oh, how bad is that?" That's what he said.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. And he said it directly in the press this week, too. The absolute idiot. Oh, we can't afford to something. Where am I? Am I in New Hampshire? Oh, yeah. I'm in New Hampshire. We can't afford to all be labeled as socialists. Do you see what the pure plasticity of it, dear listener, right? We cannot follow the path of socialism is the correct argument. If we do this, we lose. No, he's worried about the label. That's it.
Yeah.
The label.
It's pathetic, dude.
It is.
Well, let's hear what old Burn Cock, Bernie Sanders has to say.
Here we go. Here we go with Uncle Bernie.
He thinks this label socialism will work. At the State of the Union, he said socialism destroys nations. He's never going to let socialism destroy American healthcare. And before the Super Bowl, he joked with Sean Hannity about your honeymoon in Moscow. Those hits are going to keep coming if you're the nominee. Why shouldn't Democrats be worried?
Because Donald Trump lies all the time.
Every single thing that Donald Trump said about Bernie is 100% truth. Mm-hmm. Because Donald Trump lies all the time. Where's the lie, bro? Where's the lie? Sorry, here we go.
Doesn't matter what Donald Trump says. It's a sad state of affairs. It really is. People say terrible things about Joe. He has ugly, disgusting things about Elizabeth, about Amy, about anybody else who is up here. But I think, George, that at the end of the day, the way we defeat Donald Trump, and everybody up here, by the way, is united. No matter who wins this damn thing, we're all going to stand together to defeat Donald Trump.
False. That's a lie.
I believe that the way we beat Trump is by having the largest voter turnout in the history of this country. And that is appealing to working class people who have given up on the political process because they don't believe that anybody is hearing their pain, perceiving their pain, feeling their pain. And we got to bring young people into the political process. I'm very proud that in Iowa, we won the popular vote by 6,000 votes. But
Bernie doesn't get it.
What pain, bro? We're kicking ass right now. What pain are the American people feeling? None.
Well, yeah, None. So they're trying to do this whole Stockholm syndrome sort of thing.
Yes, they are.
Yeah. Where it's like, oh, you're hurting right now, and you're like, no, I'm not. Yes, you are. Am I?
Yeah,
you are hurting. It's a Stockholm syndrome. But I think the greater point to me is that, or at least for me, like that he just doesn't get it. The biggest voter turnout, that's no different than Joe Biden's arguing points and everybody else's. It's just catering to the most number of people. It's populism. Steve Bannon was right. It's populism. Yeah. Bernie's winning card is winning the hearts and the minds of the people through being principled and communicating his ideas. Now, his ideas are flawed and his ideas are bad, but I don't view him as being a person as running from his ideas. Embrace them, elucidate them, explain how they are going to take what we have and make it even better. He is supposed. Bernie's whole shtick is being the only person to present a positive vision.
Yes.
Everyone else is presenting the absence of a negative. Bernie, what sets him apart is presenting the positive. And yet his thing is, we're going to beat Donald Trump by catering to the most number of people.
Largest voter turnout in United States history. That's it.
So, Jesus, dude, like even he is totally off base, man. I don't know how people at this point, and I saw this Tim Cook video, or not Tim Cook, Tim Pool video, talking about like how could anybody respect Bernie at this point? He's like apologizing for Joe Biden, accusing him of things. I mean, Bernie has cucked himself at this point as well.
Yeah.
So that's pathetic. What a pathetic answer. We need to cater to the most number of people and not present a positive vision.
Right.
I don't know how he's going to win.
Right.
I think he's buying into the DNC playbook here.
I do too. Trying to make himself sound a little bit less socialist to appeal to more Democrats. It's not going to work, bro. It's not going to work.
I'm not a complete socialist. I'm going to listen to you.
Yeah, right.
I will humanely murder you if you don't agree. It won't be. I won't drag you onto the beach and shoot you like my campaign staffers had said. It will be a humane death.
Oh God, too true. I mean, if he gets away with this and gets the Democrat nomination, which he probably won't, in my estimation, because they know that they can't. They lose their gravy train if he wins. Okay, the nomination. If he gets away with it and does win, he's not going to be able to escape this socialist moniker for long because, dude, Donald Trump will call him out on it and obviate everything Bernie Sanders has said heretofore in his entire political career, obviate his graft that Peter Schweitzer wrote about in his most recent book, right? Donald Trump will not let Bernie get away with these things.
Yeah.
It's really disgusting how slippery Bernie is becoming. Just
unprincipled.
You can't hold it. Yeah. Unprincipled. Unlike himself. Yes. Just to win an election. Just to win.
Dude, I don't know. Maybe he bought one too many houses and now he's feeling it, feeling the wealth.
Yeah. I don't know where to hang my hat anymore. I don't know what car to drive. It's such a complicated problem being a capitalist. I just don't know what to do. Maybe. I don't know.
All right, well, let's continue, man.
All right, here we go.
Most significant is we increased.
By the way, before we go on any further, and I meant to say this, did you notice how they cucked his microphone for the first half of his answer so far?
I was actually going to say that. I didn't know if it was audio on my end coming from your side of Discord, but I noticed that for sure.
Yeah, they cucked his microphone. Totally.
I was thinking that the whole time. I was like, Jesus, God, he sounds terrible. I wonder if that's on purpose. Right. And then I was like, I'm getting this like second-handed through a feed, so I don't know.
Yeah. No, they did. And so you could barely hear what he was saying, right? Probably the audience couldn't hear what he was saying. In other words, dear listener, they shut Bernie's microphone down, and if you heard Bernie at all in that audio clip, you were hearing it through Joe Biden's microphone, is what that means. Not Bernie's microphone. They totally cucked him.
Bernie, lean over here. You can speak into my microphone.
We're a big tent here. We're a big tent, and we're going to keep fighting. And Bernie, you can come use my microphone. Oh my goodness.
And right. Bloomberg, you can Mike, you can come over here too. Just make sure to bring your box with you.
And he is standing on a box. That's the other funny thing, dude. He's standing on a box. Donald Trump, right again. Oh my goodness. It's so good. So good, man. All right, I'm going to back it up 5 seconds. Let's roll from here. You cool with that?
Let's do it.
All right, here we go.
1,000 votes. What was most significant is we increased voter turnout for young people under 29 by over 30%. We do that nationally, we're going to defeat Donald Trump.
Let me follow up there, and then we'll move on. But back in Iowa,
I want to make a quick point here real quick. This is a conversation I'd had with John as well. No, you're not, bro. Okay? The youth vote never produces, ever. Right. And the example that John brought to me was the 1968 election, which Luke and I invoked last week in the introduction. OK, that was the age of protest, putting flowers in rifles, all of this massive protest bullshit going on in the American culture. That was the youth movement of the largest generation in the world. Did they sway the election away from Richard Nixon? No, they didn't. No, they didn't. And so Donald Trump has eroded away the African-American vote in big numbers. Do you really think for a moment that the youth are going to come out and vote for Bernie Sanders or any other Democrat? No, they won't. Certainly not in enough numbers to sway the election, as Bernie Sanders just argued. It didn't work for Nixon. It didn't work for Bill Clinton. It didn't work for Bush. It didn't work for Obama. What won the election for Obama was the African-American vote, not the youth vote. Dude, do it, Bernie. Hang your hat on the youth vote. I dare you, man, because that's not going to win. It never has, ever. You know what I'm saying, Luke?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. All right, let's go on from here.
Turnout this year was about the same as it was in 2016, far below what it was in 2008 when President Obama won.
That's true. And that's a disappointment. And I think all of us probably could have done a better job in bringing out our supporters. But if there is a good spot, a good aspect about that campaign is that young people came out in higher numbers than they did during Obama's historic 2008 campaign. And if that happens nationally, we're going to win and defeat Trump.
Before I move on to...
Dang. He can't even refute my argument, Luke. He can't even acknowledge reality here. He just can't do it.
No, definitely not.
Unreal, man. Unreal. I am really disappointed in Bernie right here. Truly, I am. I'm really disappointed. Yeah. I really thought he was a worthwhile opponent. Now I don't think he is, dude. He's fodder for Donald Trump. That's all he is fodder.
Can we jump to Buttigieg's?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that.
Yeah, let's do that, and then we'll call it. I just, because he finished top in Iowa.
Yeah,
I'm curious to hear his performance here.
All right. I can't find. I'm not getting the thumbnail when I hover over on this YouTube clip. Unfortunately. Let me skip around a little bit. Is that okay? Let me see if I can find this.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Man.
All right, here we go.
Can bring in independents and Republicans on that. They hate the corruption as well.
All right. Whatever, Elizabeth. Stood with a beer.
The way you bring people together is by ending the international disgrace to get together.
Yeah, it must be. Oh, dang. This is so hard, man. I can't find it. All right. Bloomberg. Or no, that's Tom Steyer. My bad. Klobuchar. Sorry, dear listener. Sorry. Luke and I obviously did not watch this debate.
Basically, Steyer and Bloomberg are the same person.
Pretty much. Yeah. The same Borg. Yeah. Yep. Oh, all right. Here we go, Luke. I'm just going to start hitting arrow keys and see. All right. Here it is. All right. I found Buttigieg's blast off. You ready for it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Coming at you. A question from George Stephanopoulos. I'm sure it's a softball. Let's hear what it is.
The word socialism has lost its power. It's mostly lost its meaning. Do you believe that, or worry it could be a potent weapon in a general election?
I'm not interested in the labels. I'm not interested in what Republicans are going to say. I'm interested in the style of politics that we need to put forward to actually, finally turn the page. In order to win, yes, but also in order to govern. This is a moment where the next president is going to face challenges, the likes of which we hadn't even thought of a few years or decades ago. And politically, we're facing a fundamentally new problem with President Donald Trump. So the biggest risk we could take at a time like this would be to go up against that fundamentally new challenge by trying to fall back on the familiar, or trying to unite this country at a moment when we need that kind of unification, when our nominee is dividing people with a politics that says if you don't go all the way to the edge, it doesn't count. A politics that says it's my way or the highway.
Are you talking about Senator Sanders?
Yes. Because
what the hell did he just, I mean, how many buzzwords can
unity,
unification, division,
threat,
fundamental.
Yeah.
What the hell did he even just say?
Precisely nothing. Precisely nothing. He spoke deep state, not deep state. He spoke traditional politician speak. That's it. Just a bunch of empty platitudes. Nothing. But he did come out swinging at Bernie Sanders at the end of that. So props Mayor Pete. Seriously, props. But, you know.
And I like that nothing. Like, I'm not worried about labels. I'm worried about a political style.
Yeah, right.
I like how he designed style.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a marketing. That's marketing. You're talking about marketing, man. Like,
yeah.
Political style. It's not about ideas. It's like what your style is.
Right.
You know?
Right. The same thing that Joe Biden was talking about, except a little bit more eloquently, but just as empty of any meaning of anything. This tells me something, Luke. Okay. Number one, Mayor Pete Buttigieg stands for nothing at all. Secondly, he is being groomed by somebody to be the next JFK or something like that. I mean, no, that's not it. That's not it. The next Bill Clinton, right? Win the election by saying nothing. Pretty much. You know what I mean?
It depends on what the definition of the word is.
You're right. Right. Yeah.
Well, dude, I say we call the show here, man.
And this debate is boring, dude. It's just boring and unprincipled and just not interesting. Not interesting. Who cares? Yeah, let's do it. All right. So what you got, man? I've got a Dallas Blonde beer. I've got some bourbon. I've got some beef jerky. I've got some Mexican food left over, but dear listener probably doesn't want any of that. Man, I have an awesome pot roast here that I'd be glad to share. What you got with you, man?
Well, I got some chips and guacamole.
Oh,
a rare treat on this in this hemisphere.
Yeah. Done. All right, dear listener, Luke is sharing with all of us. I might have to go get some, Luke. I might have to just go get some chips and guac now that you said that, man. That really whet my appetite. Dang.
Yeah, we got to make it from scratch here. Nobody sells it. Or if they do, it's terrible.
Yeah, I believe it. Yeah.
Yeah, I went to a Mexican food place a couple weeks ago. They had on the menu, they had varying different kinds of nachos.
Yeah.
And one of the kinds of nachos was nachos naked. And I was like, so chips. Yeah. I love it. Like, you know, in other countries when they try to dress something up as something that it's not, you know.
Right.
So chips. That's what your naked nachos are.
Dang. Oh, that's too funny, man. That is really too funny. Oh.
All right, dude. Let's call it till episode 70.
All right, definitely. Yes. Dear listener, thank you so much for riding along with us through these 69 miles with us. Our last trip through our 60s together, dear listener. Luke and I are going to be back at you before you know it for episode number 70. You believe that? Meanwhile, dear listener, we're going to set up camp. We're going to have some fellowship. We're going to have a wonderful time. We are going to celebrate winning is what's going to happen. Luke, you take care of yourself meanwhile this week. Take care, brother.
All right, you too, brother.
All right, we'll be in touch. Peace.
Later.